Yo, welcome to the MycoGeeky Podcast, where we explore the fascinating world of mushrooms and the people who love them. From expert cultivators to passionate foragers, we bring you deep conversations, cutting-edge insights, and everything mycology. Whether you're a seasoned mycophile or just curious, we invite you to geek out with us on the wonders of fungi and join the mushroom movement.
I got in the game, but the game got grim. Scammers out here scheming, making pockets swim. Talking big claims, but the syringe is slim. You pay for the gold, they handed you sin. All the hustles online, selling fake hope. Cashing in quick while the newbies cope. Genetics all trash bags full of mold. They prey on the ego, hearts turn cold. Money breed greed, that's the root of the hustle. Fake moves, fake love, they flexing the muscle. But the Myco fame's strong, we break through the tussle. Calling out to scams, we in the struggle. GM's left dry, but they cashing the checks. You stuck with bad spores, feel the weight of neglect. Got them hyping up pics, flexing what's next while they leaving the scene in a trail of wrecks. New growers get burned, dreams turn to ash. They posting up stories, counting the cash. But karma come quick, this community clash. Exposing the game, taking out the trash. Money breed greed, that's the root of the hustle. Fake moves, fake love, they flexing the muscle. But the Myco fame's strong, we break through the tussle. Calling out the scams, we in the struggle. Shout out the real ones holding it down. Vendors with ethics wearing the crown. We see through the fakes, they can't hang around. Let's clean up the space, build up Myco now. This for the growers who stay legit. Never sold lies, just the realest shit. While the scammers out there trying to get rich quick, we bringing the truth, putting them in the ditch. Let's call it what it is, greed kills the scene. We out here for the love, not stacking the green. Keep it real, keep it raw, we keeping it clean. The Myco fam thrives, united we mean. Money breed greed, but it ain't our creed. We grow with intention, planting the seed. Scammers take note, we taking the lead. This the Myco fam call, let the mission proceed. Let the mission proceed. Let the mission proceed.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the MycoGeeky Podcast, the podcast that goes deep so you can level up your at-home mushroom cultivation game. I'm your host, MycoGeeky. Yes, I need a shave. My priorities are all mixed up these days. Yesterday, I'm prepping for the show, and just as I'm taking notes and figuring out what stories we're going to talk about, it's just got this thing in my head, just popped in my head, just money breeds greed, money breeds greed. I couldn't get out of my head. 5.5 hours later, 3 a.m., I tracked out this song, wrote the beat, fleshed it all out, tracked it, spent a few hours mixing it down. It's not my best work, but I guess now I have a new love language. I guess making rap songs is one of my new love languages now. So anyway, I care about this episode. I care about the community. I am truly heartbroken over the shit I just keep watching every day happen here. And so, yeah, man, just a little something to vibe to if you're thinking about becoming a thief, if you're thinking about taking advantage of your friends, if you're thinking about making the wrong play. Had a guy today, I swear to God, reaches out to me. He goes, hey, man, I need a connect for a certain something. Cool, yeah, man. I mean, I'm psychedelic friendly. I hooked him up with somebody I thought might be able to take care of him. And you know the next thing the guy asked me? Hey, man, I need a hookup for those clone cards. He thinks I'm gonna tell him where to go get some clone card reader. I had to look it up. I didn't even know what it was because I'm not a freaking thief. Guys, I don't care how desperate you are. It ain't the way. It always turns out bad. Don't do that stuff. So all tonight, this is all about why scamming and scheming is not what's up. People like the scammers, they're not welcome in this community. We are going to teach everybody watching, hopefully a thing or two, maybe some stories you haven't heard. If you're new to the Myco community, most of us are nice. Most of us care. Most of us remember what it was like being a new grower. We treat new growers with respect. We would never think about taking advantage of you. If something goes wrong, we're transparent. We tell you what's happening. You're always in the loop. That is not, however, the small section of this community who scam and scheme and take advantage. And tonight we're going to talk to a bunch of people about it. We're going to talk to vendors. We're going to talk to ex-vendors. We're going to talk to low-key vendors. We're going to talk to international vendors. We're going to talk to PhDs. We're going to talk to a bunch of people and try to, by the end of this thing, think of this as like a board meeting, right? We're all part of this. This is where we're going to figure this stuff out. So let's get some thinking caps on. Let's get ready and let's get into it. First up, I'm going to pull up my buddy. He's been on the show before. He is quite a cultivator. And I'm stalling right now because I don't see his camera on. So we're going to hold off a second. Maybe I'll pull somebody else on. I'll give him a couple more minutes. The guy I'm hoping runs over to his camera here real quick. He runs a anti-scam mycology network Facebook group. Hope I got all those words in the right order. I think I got the words right. Anyway, just a Facebook group to help spread the word about different scams that are going on in the community because it's so rampant and it's getting worse and it's getting worse and it's getting worse. I don't see him, so maybe we're going to segue into guest 2 and then come back to guest 1. They are my friends. I don't refer to them as guest 1 or guest 2, though. All right, so I'm going to pull up my friend, business partner, guy I like to hang out with, very good-natured dude, the one and only natural State Mycology. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? How are you? I had like the timing was like I was watching it on my phone. I had it muted on my computer, and the computer was a few seconds ahead, so I was like, I had to be quick.
I saw you hop in at the last second.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
it's all good. All right. Well, I don't know where guest number 1 is.
That's okay.
But we'll get to it here.
Keep it rolling.
So I feel like you and me have talked about this
a lot,
a fair amount. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we beat a dead horse on this one because we're always trying to figure out like, what is it? Why do we hear about it all the time? And I think both of us have pretty much dodged a lot of bullets. We've heard more horror stories than
100%.
we've experienced.
I've been really fortunate in that way. Early on, somebody locally here pointed me to Dirty South and you. Yeah, I bought pretty much just from Dirty South and then began trading from there. And so, luckily, there were a couple trades that went bad, of course, but that's
right. That does happen, but that doesn't hurt quite as bad, I think.
No, and that's something I think that people should really be aware of is that, like, man, if you're going to trade with people you don't know, expect the genetics to be either dirty or not what they say they are, or for them to not send anything. Those three are all real possibilities.
Do you remember when you were a kid, it would be like you didn't want to give your sister, if you had like siblings, you want to give your brother or sister a toy. He had a toy you wanted, you had a toy he wanted, and you're like, all right, on the count of 3, it's like, a kidnapping exchange or something where like on the count of 3, you're going to trade. I also got to a point where I was like, man, I'm not going to send the shit first because I had a couple times where it was like, oh, cool, you forgot to send them. How about that?
Once, and I was like, just not doing it. I'll have a select group of people that I'm friends with and I see cultivate all the time. I see the fruits of their labor, right?
Right.
And I just stuck to those people. So that's the best advice I can give people for trading with others is get to know some people,
right, and
stick to that group unless somebody in that group, and you'll find they'll vouch for other people. They'll go, hey, I traded with this person, they're great, or I got genetics from that vendor, they're great.
Right.
So,
man. The other thing about getting to that point where you have a rapport with somebody where they start talking about trading, that's a good situation to be in. That means you have friends that want to keep you in the loop on what they're doing. You want to keep them in the loop on what you're up to.
Mm-hmm.
And That's healthy. That's the old school way, right? That's the Make America Great Again equivalent of the mushroom community. Back in the day, people didn't just buy everything.
Right.
And there wasn't so many vendors. I mean, there were very few vendors.
Even just when I started, which was, almost 2 years ago now, I started way too early, I should say. By the way, I think that's a good thing to mention that, I was told that. And the reason I went ahead and did it was that I'm a business owner. I've owned other businesses. I still own other businesses, which have been successful. And I knew going into it that, hey, if something goes wrong, I'm not going to be mad about having to pony up the cash.
Right.
And I think that's really important that people have a good grasp on that going into it, of just good business ethics in general. Like that's
right.
something that's kind of lacking because it's sort of a gray market, right? Like, it allows people to not be held to the same standards as normal businesses, unfortunately.
Yes. I also, back in the day, I ran a little recording studio. I also had a construction business.
Yep.
And I cut checks every week. I paid workers' comp.
You have to.
I tell you what, once I had that experience, I didn't do it my whole life. It was 6-8 years. And but then when I went back to working for the man, if I would watch a coworker just jerking around doing nothing, I see it in nursing, right? They're just on their phones, playing a freaking Candy Crush or just
every day
somebody.
now. Everywhere you go into, every business, that's what every kid is doing.
But ignoring a patient's call light and the audacity of the nurse, and hopefully they're not watching because they'll know I'm talking about them, because there's a couple. They just sit there because they know I'll do my job. And when I see them not doing their job, they know I'll get up and do their job.
Sure. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's a patient. They're in the emergency room. They don't give two craps if you're playing Candy Crush. It's like when you're on Instagram and it's the same, man, dude, the story post in the Myco community cracked me up. Sorry, guys, it's going to be late. I got the flu. Sorry, guys, it's going to be late. My girlfriend broke up with me. Sorry, guys, I've been absent for 2 months. I went to jail.
And they're not even individual DMs, right? It's not even like, hey, I'm reaching out to my customer to let them know why I haven't sent their stuff in the mail. No, it's a story post.
Yeah, and I'm not mad. Get the flu. We all get the flu.
Yeah,
but it just shows you there's a lot of people that are not, they don't have a business background. Just because I ran a couple businesses, I wouldn't say I'm like a businessman. Sure. We're going to have a businessman on here in a second. We can get his perspective, but still, I know common decency.
Yeah.
And what people care about and what they don't care about. Can you imagine if you're trying to go to Best Buy on a Saturday morning to go buy, an SD card or some dumbass crap, whatever you go to Best Buy for now, which is virtually nothing.
Yeah. No.
And you walked up there and all the lights were out. And there was a sign on the door that said, sorry, guys, Tim, our store manager, his girlfriend dumped him last night, and he just couldn't come into work today.
Yeah, man. Yep. That's such a good analogy for it.
That's the trade-off.
Yeah.
Do business with not a business. And, a lot of the things you come to expect, the common ethical practices, good luck.
Yeah, sadly, that is the case. And a lot of that. As I mentioned, I probably started vending too early. And, one lesson that I learned early on was, I swabbed some real low spore varieties like Starry Night Ape, TBC. Those were the two that I recall. And I sold a bunch of spores from them and ended up having to reach out to a bunch of people or had people reach out to me. Hey, there's nothing germinating. Luckily, there was no contamination. They were clean.
Right.
just nothing. There were no spores on there, or they just weren't viable, whatever the case. And, a lot of vendors, from what I have heard, will just say, that's spores, like sometimes you win, sometimes you lose with spores. Right. I was horrified, like that kept me up at night. So I tried to reach out to everybody I knew of that had purchased from me and say, hey, did you have any issues? If so, let me fix that for you. Let me send you a plate. Let me, and I've made a really big effort to do that throughout vending, of just constantly communicating, keeping in touch. If something gets messed up, hey, no big deal. Let me make it right for you. Let me give you that and then some.
Now, also your other daily business that I know of, if I'm understanding it correctly, if you do a good job for the person that hires you, you're going to get more work. So it makes absolute sense that you want to build a long-term relationship with in some, not, I know not all the cases, but
no, you're 100% right. All of in my entire business of my entire adult life is built on pretty much word of mouth and reputation.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's huge. And I mean, honestly, if you want to have a successful business, it's really what matters is, word of mouth, reputation, and quality of work. Like, do you do what you say you're going to do?
Yep. Yeah.
Simple. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Dude, when I started I accidentally, so my dad was in construction. He was all sorts of, he was like the ultimate Tim Allen dad, but that's awesome. He taught me a lot of stuff. And when I left Hollywood, I sort of accidentally got into doing handyman work. And 2 years later, I'm running a construction company. And I never advertised once. I never paid for leads. I just did absolutely what I got hired to do for the price that we agreed on, and I showed up on time and I got the work done, and it didn't even take me 2 years before I was turning down more work than I could do.
Absolutely. And issues always arise. It's just how they're handled when they do.
That's true.
That's the key component is that's what I've told all my employees over the years is like, shit's going to happen. It's what you do about it. It's how you handle it. It's that's what reflects. That's what people remember.
It's crazy you said that, because so guys watching, we're going to tell a bunch of stories tonight here after we kind of walk through a couple of these guests. Hopefully some of them will stick around and we can do a little round table, tell some stories. But somebody who got screwed over for a pretty significant amount of money pretty recently by somebody who unfortunately got a whole lot of traction on my Instagram post about, if you've been screwed over, reach out. I'd love to hear your story. And this person said this. I thought this was the most interesting thing. He said, if the guy had just told me the truth.
Yep.
Like, hey, I took your money. I took a bunch of people's money. And then it didn't pan out for a bunch of reasons I'm not going to disclose on the show because they're private and personal, but they didn't work out. And now I don't have your money. I don't have a way to repay you. And I have not provided you the thing that you bought from me. But I want to figure out some way to make it right someday. He said if that guy had come at him like that instead of with a bunch of bullshit excuses, manipulative tactics and all that stuff, he's like, I would have forgiven the guy on the spot. And I would have told him,
yeah, man,
don't worry about it, man. When you're capable, when life's turned around for you, come find me.
Most people are pretty understanding of issues when they arise, right? Real life issues like, hey, I had something genuinely occur. As long as you're not that person that does it every other time, right? Like that's something I've run into with. There was one vendor early on where I ran into that, where it was like just had to bug them to finally get something, and then it wasn't even the right thing, right? And
what's sad is it's probably one of the two people I'm thinking of.
Probably not. Probably not. No. This was early on when I wasn't really plugged in. It was some random Instagram. I haven't even seen them since, to be honest. Yeah, I don't. But yeah, man, no, I mean, I early on had, I shared about the trading thing, and then, I had a situation where, I was pretty green still. I was a few months in. I wanted to get into breeding, and, I saw a sale on monocarrions. I was like, hey, that's awesome. It was way cheaper than normal, and it was something I really wanted. And so I went for it. man, I had a cheap microscope, so, and I hadn't really scoped monokaryons before, so I had to learn how to look at clamps under the scope, and it was like a $75 Chinese scope, man. So I was second guessing everything, and this person had a reputation, right? So I didn't want to like step on any toes, and but it looked like there were clamps, right? And I waited for a while on the advice of a mentor. The plate started pinning, so I sent him a sample, and he scoped it for me under a good quality scope, sent me images, and I from there found someone else who had made the same purchase. So
now, wait, did you make that mentor scope that after you got pins on that plate or before?
No, I sent it. I apologize. I mixed up the order of that. No.
I was like, you're mean, because that's no fun to look for.
Well, and anyway. it was a variety that doesn't really plate pin. It just kind of forms hyphal knots. So, some of those real small albinos and weird stuff like that, they don't really like plate pin a lot of the time. They just kind of get funky. And, and so he was like, he did tell me at that time that was all that was going on when I sent it to him. And he was like, well, monos can do weird stuff sometimes. Go ahead and send it to, it sounds like it's probably a dikaryon, but go ahead and send it to me and we'll triple check it. Because my scope just wasn't, I couldn't even get a good picture through my scope. Like it was bad. So I wanted to come correct, right? I didn't want to approach the situation without all of my ducks in a row. And I think
now, so let me pause before you go any further.
Yeah, sure.
So everybody listening. So, and this is partly why I like this guy. And this is partly why do you want to know how many people want to go in business with me in the last couple of years? And I've said no to pretty much everybody. And I didn't hesitate to get something going with Natural State for this reason.
Right back at
this guy didn't want to be wrong. He had the common basic courtesy to not want to humiliate somebody, to accuse somebody of something that wasn't true. He wanted to make sure he was certain before doing this. I just had to pause you because
I appreciate that. No, that is important, and I should point out that as this builds and develops, I like it gave me a feeling in the pit of my stomach. I'm not a person to get stressed out or anxious, but this whole situation made me anxious. I wanted nothing to do with having drama of any kind. I have a busy life. I don't have time for that. And it consumed me, right? Like, as these little online dramas sometimes can, you get caught up in them, and it's like, you forget like, oh, it's not really my real life, right? Like I can chill on that stuff. Since then I've gotten real good at being able to go, done with that, right?
Yeah, you gotta.
But yeah, you do. You have to be able to. But anyway, so I got all my ducks in a row. I then even went as far as reaching out to another person who had purchased the same product at the same sale, and I got with them, and sure enough, same issue. So I was like, all right, I think I'm good to approach now and, kind of see how it goes. Well, the person, the vendor already knew and said, yeah, I had messed up, which led me to go, well, this is 3 or 4 months down the road. Why didn't you reach out? That was my first thought but I'm like, okay, I'm not even gonna go there. Right. Like my expectations are, I felt appropriate for, as we discussed, the market we're in.
Well, you bought a monokaryon.
Yep.
It wasn't a monokaryon.
It was not. And I ended up, spending, several months of time, lots of plates, which at the time for me, I was working out of an Instapot, and like half my plates contaminated. So it was definitely like, it was a real hit to, to my morale, if you will.
Yeah, bro. Dude, it's like buying okay. So I worked at Best Buy as a kid, and back in the day, right, we had glass tube TVs. People would come and buy these 32-inch, 36-inch TVs. They were big as shit.
Yep.
And they would buy them. They'd come in these massive boxes. It'd take at least 2 people to get it on the back of your truck or in whatever you drove.
Absolutely. Yeah, man.
And you'd get home, you'd get it out of the box, and it'd be defective out of the box. Sony's were notorious for this. Even though Sony's was the best glass tube TV, they had the highest out-of-the-box defect rate. And, I mean, the people coming back in with a defective TV out of the gate were
what a disappointment.
hot.
Yeah, man.
Pissed. Some of them be like, screw Sony. I want something else. I'm not doing this again.
Sure.
And so we actually had to get to a point where we had to offer every customer the opportunity to unbox it, plug it in, make sure it worked before they left. Now, most people didn't want to do that, but we had to at least offer that. So that's the exact same situation, right? You paid money, you thought you had a thing, and you spent a bunch of work that you
a lot of work.
Right.
I thought I had a lot of crosses that were about to come to fruition, and shocker, no. Right. No, none of them were. So, those all went in the trash. But yeah, man. And the crazy thing was, at this point I was frustrated, but I wasn't mad, right? I had no reason to be mad yet. It's like accidents happen. Surely someone of this stature within the community will make it right. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, we approached and basically said, I knew that had happened. And, here's what I can offer you as a replacement. It was one choice. There was no choice. It was just, here's what I can offer. Well, I said,
so when you told this vendor, mm-hmm. they said, oh, I knew. Yeah.
They already knew and had not reached out to either of us. I don't know who else bought, but yeah, so that was already kind of like, and people need to understand, like, I think a good way to envision the way that any business interacts with their customers is you have credit in the bank, and each mistake that you make takes that credit down. 100%. And you're already in debt, right? It's credit. So like you're already trying to climb out of that hill. So yeah, it was just, so yeah, he already knew. And then, gave the one option. I said, hey, I think I'd just like my money back. How about we just do that? I think I'm good. I was just ready to tap out of that business exchange. Right. Mm-hmm. No, I can't do that. So that was a real big one. I was like, ooh, that's okay. That's kind of, I don't know about that.
What about your money back minus the cost of a Dicarion plate?
Yeah, exactly.
Even.
Sure. Sure. I would have been, honestly, at that point, I probably would have just said sure and moved on, to be honest. Not that I should have, but I was so eager to avoid any kind of conflict or drama that I probably would have just said sure. So anyway, so yeah, I ended up private messaging him out of that group chat with the other dude. And I just said, hey man, like, come on, this is a little crazy. Can you at least anything else you can offer up as a replacement? Gave one other option. I said, can you do both of those at least? And he, I really don't want either. I want my money back.
Right.
And
so the offer wasn't for the original strain that you had bought.
No.
It was for different ones.
Okay. No. Yeah, that monocaryon got.
But back in the day, natural state, monocaryon beggars can't be monocaryon choosers. You got to take the monocaryon they're going to give you, right?
Hey man, yeah, that's that. I guess that was the way it was, dude. Right. Now we're living in the land of plenty.
But now I will say this, just out of fairness, if he had problems with that mono and a dicaryotized, or maybe it never was. Then he probably didn't have that anymore. But then here's the important part:
get a new one.
A business owner has to have a customer service policy around returns, around bad situations, around all this stuff. And that also means you have to have the working capital. And dude, trust me, my working capital is like, I think I don't even got $1,000 in my bank account for all my MycoGeeky crap.
But it's enough.
I don't have a lot of money.
But I know if you did a big transaction, you would make sure you had the money.
I wouldn't touch that money until.
That's what I'm saying.
I knew everything was cool.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's just the way to do business is like, if you have any doubts of your product, the least you can do, the very least you can do is hold on to that. Like that's somebody's hard-earned money, man. Like I think a lot of people fail to consider that because we're on the internet. And there's no face-to-face aspect to it. So there's a little bit of humanity lost there, right? It's just, it's just another click of a button. So yeah, try to remember that. I think that it's.
So wait, so I don't actually remember how this panned out. Did you ever get your money back?
So I ended up having to, sorry, I keep getting sidetracked. I'm so ADD. I ended up having to, I waited like 2-3 months, never got the promised replacements. I agreed to it. I said, sure.
Oh, you did agree to those.
Yeah,
okay,
if you'll send me 2 for the one that I lost, I guess that's fine. I don't really want either of them, but it'll be cool to have a couple to mess with.
Right, and you can play that game. Sure.
Yeah. So I waited, messaged after a few weeks, hey, have you sent that yet? No reply. Gave him another couple weeks, messaged some more, no reply. This was a lengthy, I wanted to make sure I gave ample time because, as we've discussed, life happens. I'm an understanding dude. I'm not trying to be a dick, right? And
but no communicado.
No communicado. Went ghost mode. And so I felt I had no other choice. I consulted with people who've been in the community a lot longer than me, and just kind of sought some mentorship of hey, I don't really know what to do here. I don't want to cause any trouble. I'm not trying to, I just want this resolved. And if this dude's doing people like this, feel like it should probably be known, right? I feel like that's I enjoy this community. I like most of the people in it.
Right.
And
you when you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands and you wipe the piss off the toilet seat. I get it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's honestly, it's the basic thing that I'm teaching my 3-year-old right now.
Right.
Do unto others as you want done to you. It's the golden rule, right? We're taught it as kids. Yeah. And I mean, it really does. It really works too. If you're nice to people, generally speaking, they're going to be nice back. That's just kind of how it goes. But anyway, I got on another tangent. So I ended up having to eventually make a public post about it and go, hey, just here's what's going on. I've got no response. Here's screenshots of everything, just so it's clear that I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm not trying to start something where there's nothing. And in fact, I wasn't trying to start anything at all. I just wanted to be done with it.
No part of that is how it was supposed to go.
No, I just wanted to be done with it, man. And so, 2 hours after making that post, cha-ching in my Cash App, and I had already blocked, that person on all platforms at that point. Because as I mentioned in other episodes, I'm quick to hit that block button if somebody's a turd. So.
Yeah, dude, you taught me that. I never I was so resistant to blocking people. I'm still resistant. I'm still resistant to blocking people.
I get it. Now, sometimes I get a little bit of FOMO and I'm like, but no.
No, so for me now though, it's I had a couple people leave comments on the Instagram post where I was, soliciting stories for the show, and they're like, oh, so you're going to talk about it, but you're not going to talk about it? You're not going to name names? Well, then what'd you do? You didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there I'm not trying to make enemies. I don't hate any of these people. I don't hate them. I am not impressed with the approach. I'm not impressed with what they're doing. But even I got a couple nasty motherfuckers that don't like me. And I still don't wish them any ill will. I actually wish something would go right enough in their life that their whole modus operandi didn't revolve around trying to shit down my throat all the time. I don't wish ill on anybody. I mean, the world would be amazing if everybody was living a great life, right? I'm not, but that's a fucking pipe dream. People have shitty lives. People have shitty upbringings. People get traumatized. They get fucked. They get raped. They get beat. They get all this stuff, and they are fucking adjusted by the time they're adults. And there's a bunch of them in this community.
There are. Yeah. So, there are. Unfortunately, that kind of goes hand in hand because we're, the medicine that we're, cultivating, it definitely assists with some of those issues. And those issues don't just go away, contrary to popular belief. You don't experience ego death and all that just goes away, right? You're not, you're not magically.
Man, that's like me. I can watch a little video on my phone, and it can say, oh, all I got to do is this, and this, and I'll be totally healthy, and I'll start losing more weight, and I'll be stronger, and all this, and it's like, oh, there it is. That's all I got to do. That don't fucking mean I'm gonna do it.
No.
Right? Because we're people.
Easier
said than done. We got problems. Yeah. So
yeah, man.
What are you gonna do? It is sad. And and unfortunate that it had to go there, because I know you, and I know you truly didn't want to have to go there.
No, I genuinely, like,
Yeah.
every fiber of my being was like, I mean, I anguished over it for like a week before finally doing it, because I was just like, ugh. I like, truly,
I
man.
bet you don't feel guilty, or I bet if that situation happened again, I bet that waiting period would be a whole lot shorter this time. Like, oh, you don't want to give me my money back? All right, well, I know a method that works. Here we go.
Yeah, man. Well, and I mean, honestly, like, I mean, you've gotten to know me pretty well. My bullshit meter is pretty fine tuned. Yeah, and I, you know, I tend to be pretty blunt about stuff. You know, given that we're in a community where, you know, there's a lot of folks who do have trauma and stuff like that, I tend to hold back a little bit on my bluntness sometimes. And I, especially just from a drama standpoint, haven't engaged in a lot of stuff. So I'm not real outspoken about things on social media. I'll talk some in like group chats with some of the, you know, some of the friends and stuff, you know, if it gets brought up. But yeah, man, I'm not out there like, you know, by any means ever, you know, stoking the fire or anything, because that's all it does. Like we've discussed many times, you know.
Well, and you got a business, you got a wife, you got kids, so you're like me. So I'm sitting back here going, how these people got so much free time to hate me so fucking much, and to give me a hard time, and like the amount of effort it takes to pull off some of these scams. Just go get a job. Just do something, because trust me, there's no Myco pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. I'm gonna tell you right now.
There's not, man. I mean, someday, far down that rainbow, perhaps. But man, yeah, vending some swabs, man. That's another thing. Is like, man, yeah, all these vendors getting into it.
Unless you are manipulative, unless you are a marketer, unless you know how to tell a story that everyone wants to hear.
Yep, that's
and
a big one.
And then it gets real exciting. Then you got them salivating. I need that. The new. I want the new. Yep. Even though the new look just like all the other shit you've ever grown, if you've grown any amount of mushrooms.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty dang wild, man. I mean, yeah, the hype over stuff and the redoing of old text constantly, and then like reformulating agar recipes all the time. Like, it's just, there's always this spinning wheel. So yeah, I mean, no, you're totally right. People should watch out for kind of that, like, you know, I don't want to say circusy vibe, but it kind of is, right? Like, it's a dog and pony show. Yeah, man.
It is, but the dog ain't that cute.
No.
And the tricks aren't that good. No, but okay, so that's a good story. Now, I think I want to revisit particularly the monocaryon situation later.
Yeah.
Because now, you know, I've isolated some. You've isolated some. Never in a fucking million years would I personally release one, because I've had them dikaryotize on me, despite them being monos for a good long while, and then just out of the blue, I don't know if a goddamn spore randomly fell in there or what happened, but
sure,
I've had that happen. Ed'll probably talk a little bit more about some of those other things, but there is a whole nother level of transparency and ethical behavior the minute you say, I'm going to release a monocaryon.
Yep.
And 100%, anybody that's making just guarantees to you about some of this stuff, like there's a vendor that I forget what he charges, but he says, I'll verify your monocaryon for, it's not a lot of money. Nowhere in the post, and look, I like this guy. I do. I used to be good friends with this guy and admire him, and unfortunately, he got a post that says, I'll verify your monocaryon. Doesn't say how many smash mounts he'll make. It doesn't say how much time he's going to spend at the scope. Doesn't give any details about the process, but it is insinuated in the post that he guarantees that his decision will be like the authoritative decision about it. Even though anybody that's worked with monocaryons knows no one's ever going to just say it's a slam dunk. you got to be ready to give somebody their money back or have some options for them.
Absolutely.
If you can't do that, then you are a disingenuous monocaryon vendor.
Yeah.
So, and we can get into more detail about that later.
No, agreed, man. Yeah, and I started off, a good way, if you think you've got monocaryons and you even just want to like share them with people or breed them and you're not sure, a good way is just to have a buddy who has a scope, send it to them, let them look at it. They'll do it for free. They're not going to charge you for it.
Right. Well, so I got somebody coming on the show here shortly, a legend, a living legend, one of the biggest guests I've had. And we actually were chit-chatting, and one of the things that is going to be discussed at much greater length is this guy brought up, he said, if you're doing this and you don't own a microscope, you're not doing it. You have to have a microscope.
Yeah.
One of my not a buddy anymore, for reasons related to the story, but I was over helping this person out, mess with their microscope. I said, "Hey man, go grab me a swab set. I'm going to show you, what the spores look like under the scope." Grabs me a swab set. Can't find any spores. And he goes, but the swab's all blue. Yeah, I swabbed it. This is, and I go, that's polymerase.
That just juices, boy.
My friend. That is, there you go. That's the blue juice, buddy.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, dude, you swabbed a fruit with no spores on it.
We all learn that lesson at some point in time, man. For all of us comes a day where we either take a swab to a plate and nothing happens, take a swab to a plate and it looks way too pretty and perfect, and someone goes, "That's just clone material. There's no spores on there."
Yep.
We all hit that point, and it's an enlightening point when you do reach it. I started testing all my albino swabs before they ever are posted for sale.
Yeah, and some of them that, for a few runs, they can have a decent amount of albino spores, and then all of a sudden, it's like, on this fruit, where's the spores at? No spores. Because of the timing, the maturation, a whole bunch of reasons. You cannot sell spore swabs without microscopically verifying that there are fucking spores there.
Yep.
Don't do it. Or don't. I don't care. But then be ready to give people their money back and make it right. But even then, you're still not a good vendor, because you're basically going, I don't care. I'll deal with the problem when it comes. It's like shitty contractors. They do this. They see 5 things they fucked up. They won't touch them because they're just waiting for the final walkthrough. They're hoping that if they find those easy 5 fixes, then they don't got to do anything else, too much.
Yeah. They're hoping to only find 2. Yeah, exactly.
Not the way to do it. So, yeah, man. Well, that's a good story. I wanted you on because I knew you wouldn't specifically dox anybody. There were people that wanted to come on the show, and I was like, man, I can tell how mad you are, and I am afraid you're going to dox somebody. To all the people I'm going to be talking about tonight, whether we get into the details of the story or not, I still respect you as a human being, and I hope you decide to start behaving differently. And I hope you realize that there's not an excuse for these tactics. If you take somebody's money and they don't get what they bought, you are a thief.
Yeah.
And you are a scammer, and it could be criminally prosecuted. You could go to jail for it. So I'm not a bad guy to want to do an episode to protect innocent people and their hard work, especially when sometimes when this happens, people leave the community.
Yeah.
They leave over this stuff.
Yeah, dude. Well, I mean, can you imagine, like, somebody's all excited? That could have very easily discouraged me from it, where I just went, screw this, man. This is this is just junk. Because I hadn't had tons of success up to that point. Like, I'd done okay, but it was like, there were definitely hurdles. And so, yeah, man, I could see, if somebody ran into a series, especially of like bad vendor, oh man, like, and that's somebody whose literal life could be saved. So it's pretty important.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, man.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Always good to talk to you.
Same. I'll hang out.
Yeah, we got to do a little Myco Trucks meeting here again, because we got to start talking to people about the next trip. But we'll do that soon here.
Definitely. I'll hang out for the roundtable deal. I'll see you in a bit.
All right, dude. Talk to you in a bit. All right, guys. Who we got up next? Let's see if guest number one is ready to go. I think he's queued up. Um, yep. I'm gonna assume he is. All right. So this guy, I don't think he started it. I'll let him tell the full story, but in classic geeky fashion, my ADHD is gonna make me tell half the story for him anyway. Uh, he's he didn't start. He very early on took over a young Facebook group whose sole goal was to be a place where people in the Myco community could find out information about scams, various ways people are being taken advantage of in the community. And so I feel like he's a great guy to chit chat about this because he hears all the stories all the time. I got to tune it out at a certain point. Only the good friends who got a juicy story for me do I listen to. I just can't listen to it all. But so let's welcome to the show the one and only. He's been on here before. He'll be on here again. Brock Lee. What's up, man?
Hey, thanks for having me again.
Oh yeah, man, of course. I'm glad you got your I feel like did this happen once before? Not on the air, but I feel like we had it where like it was perfect and then all of a sudden it just went away. I don't know.
My camera does that all the time. Not all the time, but it was fine for 2 hours before the show, and then all of a sudden it just stopped working. And then now it's working again. So,
well, don't feel bad. I am so broke. I am making no money on this show. Support me on Patreon, guys. Guys, I appreciate it. I need it.
I do.
If you want me here, please support me because now I got a camera. I have. It's not a professional camera, but it's on all the time. I use a lot, right? So I don't know if I fried a board or something, but the autofocus now it's just it's good there. But every once in a while I'll just be sitting here and I'll just go fuzzy. So I'm like, oh my God, now I got to buy another camera. Come on. It never ends. The fun never ends. All right. So how about this? Tell everybody the story about how the anti-scam network came to be, how the instrumental players who got it going, and then just walk me through a day in the life in that Facebook group.
Yeah. So this guy Boomer started the group, and I can't remember what the name was before. It was something like I can't even remember, to be honest. It was a few years ago, and it was right kind of when I got into the community, and I had been scammed before, thinking that this person was going to send me genetics and never did. And then they were like, "Oh, we need more money to send it over." I was like, "No, this isn't right. This is not right." So, and I was very new to the community. I wasn't really connected with you all yet. It was just very new to me. And so yeah, when I met Boomer and I knew that he had started this group, I just jumped right in and I just wanted to help out and like just make more people aware like me that these people are out there preying on people. And hindsight's always 20/20, right? It's like if me looking back on myself back then, I just kind of laugh at myself, but it's it happens to a lot of people. And there's kind of outliers in the community that happens to primarily, and those are the kind of people that I kind of want to help out. But that's the thing, is like they don't see the group, then you can't really help them. But I just wanted to kind of spread awareness by kind of taking on the responsibilities in the group. And I'm not the only one who's doing this. There's a whole team of people doing this. I'm just one of the admins of the group, but we couldn't do this without the team that we have. There's a lot of people helping out. So thank you guys.
All I know is just conceptually, I would never dare start that group.
I know.
I just know how much drama and scams there are all the time. I'm like, I get anxiety just thinking about it.
And a lot of it too was we started this group to help people not be scammed by people in other countries who are they scam for a living. Right. Not to bash people in the community, you know what I mean? And it's like, but at the same time, we have to like, it's a gray area, and I'm very careful not to get too involved with certain things that go on in the community, like allegations and whatnot.
Right.
So yeah, that's yeah. But I was listening to you guys talking, Natural State and you, about all this stuff, and dude, I'm not perfect either. I was actually on the show last year, and we announced this whole grow along thing, and I was super stoked. I was laughing behind the scenes when you guys talking about that because that was me, bro. Like we announced this grow along, I was super excited about it. We shipped out like 200 swab sets, 3 swabs for $10, and it included the Emerald Gates, which was for the grow along, and I did not check to see if
Look
there
at that.
was.
The guest on the show learned something waiting in the wings to be on the show. Yeah, man. This
Well, I mean,
Myco,
I
this
know better
Myco's a lot of
now.
work, dude. You can't
Yeah,
not do it, especially on something like a grow along. Dude, you should have
yeah,
seen. Do you remember I did that mutant grow along with Mickey? I had the
yeah,
mutant
yeah.
master on, right? He's a old buddy. Bro, you should have seen this guy pine over. He had everything ready to go, and he goes, I just got a gut feeling. I'm starting all over. I'm gonna do something. He was so neurotically concerned about that going well because he just knew like 120 people are about to run my shit, and if I fuck it up, it's gonna look real bad. Yeah,
And
it's hard.
I was
It's
just kind
hard.
of, this is only a year ago, and I learned a lot from that experience, but um, it was very stupid of me. I feel like to just kind of assume that everything was going to be hunky dory. I mean,
Sure.
I've germinated my swabs before and haven't had any issues, but what was odd is that, we had more than one person working on this project for the Emerald Gates, and both of our clones didn't a bunch of them didn't germinate. We had a few that did, but a lot of them didn't, and it just turned into this huge headache. And but basically, we called off the grow along because of it, unfortunately.
Right.
The people who ordered the swabs, though, they did get 3 swab packs for $10, so they got some germinations out of those. We also sent like, long white clouds and a couple other things, but I just feel really bad about it.
Yes. Sure.
But yeah, since we're on the topic of scammers, like I'm not a scammer, but you know what? Shit fucking happens,
Yeah.
and I wish I could have. I wish I can go back and change it, but
Sure.
I think this learning experience for me has made me a better community member and better cultivator.
Right. Well,
um,
it also humbled you. It gave you a little respect for the game that everybody likes to call the game on the mean Myco streets, and and my fruit and the this, right? Um, it's all work. It's
yeah.
all work. It's all work. You wanna make some money in mycology. Figure out what is the hardest thing to do that takes the most amount of labor. Go do that, because that's the thing people don't want to do. So,
Mm-hmm.
great example. My guest is going to come on here in a minute and talk about what it's like being a high volume vendor and dealing with customers who are trying to scam the relatively successful business out of their hard-earned money. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Like customer scams?
yeah,
Is that what you're
customer
talking about?
scams. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
because it can go both, man, out here, it can go every which way. There's no limits. So yeah, it's just, there is so much to it. And he sells the Myco supplies that takes a lot of work. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a hobby grower. My grain and sub days, they're not my favorite days. That's not my Maria Kondo sparking joy moment for me, right? Like, that's the grind. That's the thing
Yeah.
I got to do, but I do it myself because I trust my shit the most. So I do it myself. But I know you, and you communicate with people. You let everybody know what's up. You also priced it absurdly cheap, 3 swabs for $10.
Well, we just wanted to kind of cover the shipping costs and
Sure.
make it worth our while, because it wasn't just me doing this; it was a bunch of
Right.
other people too. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's kind of a disappointment, but
I wouldn't lose too much sleep. There are people out here not losing any sleep over formally meaning to scam people out of money.
yeah.
But that just shows your character that you do feel bad about it. So,
Well, I'm on the show with you guys, and
yeah,
I just, I had to address that because it
sure.
has been weighing on me a little bit, and actually a lot. Yeah. So,
Hey, dude, I, from my perspective, as long as you didn't, I'll tell you what would make me lose respect for you is if somebody hopped in my DMs and said, "Man, I did this group grow along with Brock. They sent me these swabs. They cost $80 for 3 swabs. One of them, I don't think had any spores on it. And then I messaged him, and he ignored me for 3 months. And then when he finally did message me, he just told me it was my fault because I don't know what I'm doing. That would not impress me. But you didn't do that, right? You just you guys were just moving and grooving, and my guess is you're just trying to like have people enjoy those genetic house genetics, and something slipped through the crack. It happens. But that is the point of the guy I'm about to have on here in a week or two, who said, "Yeah, man, the microscope, it's a vital tool. It isn't an optional tool if you take this seriously." Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
anyway, that's cool. Thank you for saying that. That hopefully sets a great example for other people, that you can actually go to people and apologize, that you can, say, "I'm a human being. I screwed up." I have to do that
there
with
was a
my
couple.
wife a lot, dude.
There's a couple people that never received their packages also, and I had to send out some refunds for those. But
Yeah.
if anybody's watching this and hasn't gotten their package, please just let me know, and then I'll send you out a refund.
Now, so this reminds me, so you've brought this up, and then Natural State, his story, there's a thread here, there's a common thread, which is when Natural State reached out to that vendor, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, I already knew this." And it was like, "Oh, well then why didn't you reach out to me and tell me?" A lack of communication there. Also, I can't imagine he sold hundreds of monocarrions. So like, I'm thinking you could remember who you sold monos to. But anyway, okay, whatever. But you guys sent out a bunch of swabs. And for me, almost the bigger logistical learning lesson is like to keep track of all the names, right? Like, who'd I send it to? And that gets tricky in this space because you usually don't know anybody's actual name. You usually get, Myco Jupiter father, right? Like you get these other names, and they're hard to remember.
And we had a bunch of accounts get shut down because of the policy changes on Facebook.
Right. And then
so
people's names change, and
I lost my old account, so it's like I had to start. Thankfully I had my personal account that I revamped into the new Broccoli account, but I lost all my messages, everything on the old account. I did have a list in my notes with people's names. But yeah, it's just
cool. Yeah. So anybody watching, if you sent Brock $10 and you got 3 swab sets and one of them didn't work, just reach out to him and he'll make it right. There you go. All right. I am not a priest, Brock. Your confession can be over. Yes. I mean, I actually just love, I hope everybody watching realizes it just shows you there's 2 kind of people in the world, right? There's givers and takers. And when a giver takes and they didn't exactly mean to, and it didn't go well, they feel very guilty about it. A taker, they don't feel guilty about this stuff. They just don't. So anyway, move on, dude. It's all good.
It feels good just to get that off my chest.
Yeah. I mean, I'm impressed that you did it live on the show. I'm pretty impressed. But we did not talk about this, so this was all like news to me. But
yeah.
Anyway, so Anti-Scam Network, a bunch of great people run that. So like day to day, how often are you seeing new scammers show up?
Actually, it's slowed down quite a bit. The group isn't as active as it was for a while. We have about 1,400 members right now. I wish the engagement was a little bit better, and that's probably my fault a little bit because I haven't really been as active in there as I had been before. But
now, so do you vet the posts? Or
yes, we do have
okay.
we have post approval on
Okay.
because like I was saying earlier, we don't want to have people just being, you know, dragging other people's name in the community through the mud without first
Right.
kind of doing our homework on the subject and figuring out what's going on. But most of the time, it's just those petty scammers who have the scammer accounts that just they do it all the time. So
Yeah. Yeah, so
stealing photos, yeah, that's
let's
another one.
talk about that. I actually made some notes about this stuff, and I think for newer people in the community, I'm even having people going, "Oh, I've grown for a while. I've never really gotten, duped by anybody." And some of y'all T crossers and I dotters and anal retentive cautionary people who don't trust anybody, right? You guys are harder to pull the wool over their eyes. So, some people are more susceptible to getting scammed than others. People that wear their heart on their sleeves, menches, people who, just can't say no. And the next thing you know, they're doing something they don't want to do. But that's not everybody. So, everybody's different. Some people way more susceptible than others to this. But I want to run through some ways that scammers work. And before that, there are scammers that are absolutely in no way, shape, or form involved in mushroom cultivation. They are 100% preying on the people in the community because they've assessed the community. It's just like this little thing that I made. I'll pull it up again. Right? They scammers thrive in decentralized, fast-growing communities like the magic mushroom cultivation space, where regulation is non-existent and trust exclusively rests on word of mouth. Right? Not to mention a gray space market, right? Like in the shadows, right? I can't, if somebody screws me over, I can't go down to the police station and go, you know what this guy did? I tried to buy, my elbow from him and he didn't send it to me and blah, 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 blah. Can't do that. So,
Yeah.
it's a very vulnerable population, and you got these outsiders, and they are very slick. They got some tried and true methods. So, one that I think a lot of people experienced earlier on was where you'd buy a liquid culture. I'm sorry, you'd buy a multi-spore syringe that had no spores in it. None. Are you seeing that in the group? Does that still happen? I've heard people of that happen fairly recently, but I don't think it's common anymore.
Not so much with that. We have had a couple people send in posts for approval for like vendors who send them like a contaminated product, and we usually reach out to those people and just let them know, not the vendor, but the customer who was making the post, and we'll just let them know like, hey, have you reached out to them? We just ask them the general questions of like what's going on, and sometimes we won't post just because of one complaint, but if one vendor is getting multiple complaints from people, we'll probably allow those to go through.
Yeah, that's tricky, right? Because again, you're not trying. These are usually unscrupulous people. They're often criminals. I mean, they are criminals because they're stealing people's money, so they're literally criminals. And they don't care. They're not going to be nice. If you're going to try to stop their grift, you're going to become public enemy number one. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I kind of brought that one up because I just want to point out how shocking the scam can be sometimes. Just a water syringe, and then I don't know, too bad, go F yourself, because there's a bunch of people coming in here and I got to screw over 15,000 of them before I'm even, my business even slows down. So that's why what we're doing here tonight, what your Facebook group is doing, is so important. When I want to talk about that, we'll talk about my favorite one later, which is emotional exploitation. I think taking advantage of people, of their emotions is become an art form for some of these guys. But simple ones are, let's say I don't grow mushrooms, right? And all I got to do is steal broccoli's photos and tell people I do. And they send me money and I ignore them. And I bring that up to you because, dude, I remember you were the first guy I saw, what was it called? Watermark your photos.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw Limitless Genetics do it. I saw Ape King Kong do it. I saw a bunch of different people do it. And I was like, wow, is it really that bad? But I didn't realize at the time that it was getting bad.
Yeah, it is. I just the other day, I joined. We've been joining a bunch of other communities around the internet, like Reddit, Discord, yada yada yada. I went on to Shrooms, our Shrooms on Reddit, and I joined as a member, and I posted some stuff. This is a little bit off subject, but they blocked me from the group for asking a question, and then yeah, they have like 700,000 members, and I just asked them a question. If it's like, are we allowed to like post lineage and origin? And then they deleted my post and banned me from the group permanently. So then I reached out to the admin and I was like, hey, did you know that you have a bunch of scammers who are stealing my photos on the daily and posting them into your group? And then wouldn't you rather have the real me here posting and like who actually gives a shit about the community rather than just letting all these people in? And they just like brushed it off. And I told them what I thought about them, and then they sent in a report that I was harassing them or something. It's really funny to me.
This is the dynamics of the unscrupulous, dude. Shady motherfuckers don't care. And if you know somebody shady, there is probably whatever low you think they will go to, it ain't the lowest they'll go. They will go lower. Yeah. They don't care. That switch is off. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. I think I had it harder in life than you, so I have the right to steal money from you. That is literally how these people think. I know, man. I lived in the gritty fucking streets of Detroit. I'm telling you, I saw these people act this way. They would pay me $25 to come record in my studio, and I was around them all day, all the time for like a decade. It's a mentality. It's that like the streets are
I've seen it,
and it's a fucking war and everybody's my enemy, and it's all I mean, dude, all you gotta do is listen to rap music, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like the little song I did last night, I specifically emulated that vibe because that's that vibe that like, whatever I gotta do, if I gotta cap you, if I gotta this, if I gotta that, like I don't give a shit. I'll fucking rob my mom if it keeps me happy. And bro, I mean, that just shows you how sad the lives of the inner city people can be. It's
it reminds me of New Orleans. I went there once.
Well, yeah, that vibe, like
that was gnarly.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. People that don't have the the social dynamics in poor communities, very different, right? Like, don't be the first guy in the hood to get a PlayStation 5, because y'all gonna get it stolen. Like, that's just how it is, right? One guy's got a bike, it's the whole street's bike now, right? Like, because resources are scarce. And the internet, I think this is a point I hadn't brought up yet. The internet is just so ripe to take advantage of people. It's so anonymous, right? Like, I ain't got to choke you the fuck out. I don't got to look at your eyes as I choke you out and you take your last breath. I can do it virtually. Right? I can virtually fucking ruin you. I can virtually kill you. I don't have to do it in real life. Yeah. I don't gotta actually pull the purse off your shoulder to mug you. It's easy. So, I mean, dude, it's just like, look at, back in the day, if you wanted to be a prostitute, you had to be a prostitute. You had to have sex with men for money. Now you ain't got to touch anybody. You just do some videos, paint your toenails, put on some new underwear, and you can sell the underwear and you can sell the videos, and you don't got to have sex with anybody to be a prostitute now. Making $16 million a year, never having sex with anybody. The internet, guys, it's the internet. It is a scary fucking place.
Yeah, it could be a really useful tool or really dark thing.
Yeah. So be careful. That's what this is about tonight. Warning everybody. You don't know who you're talking to. That guy that you think is cool you're talking to, he could be fucking playing you. He could be playing a long game on you. I had somebody play a long game on me, never saw it coming. I thought I had an eye for this stuff. Guy played me. And then spun it around for no fucking reason. Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Man, I've had somebody reach out to me that I knew them before, but I guess their account got hacked and I didn't know, and they were like, "Hey, I'm having some trouble logging into my account. Can you send me?" There's this option where I can request a code and then you send me the code. They did that on my account. Thankfully, I had the two-step verification, so I sent them the code like an idiot, and it was the code for my own account, and then it was like. And it said, somebody tried to lock you out, and then they just made me change my password, thank God, but I was this close to losing my account. So I learned that day, never trust when anybody wants you to do anything with their account. It doesn't even have, like, my point is, scammers are not just going to be in the, like, they're lurking in the mushroom community, but the scam might not even be related to the mushrooms. So It's just be on the lookout for any weird behavior from your friends who you haven't heard from a long time. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, and this, I mean, so the other reason this community is ripe is you only got to read a couple articles these days to know, oh, so there's this community, people fucking troubled, traumatized, abused, desperate people that Western medicine has failed, and now they're desperately putting all their eggs in the psilocybin basket or the psychedelic basket, and they're trying to grow mushrooms, and they're doing this, and they go check it out, and they go, oh shit, we just hit gold. These pathetic motherfuckers are gonna fall for all my tricks, and they do. We're gonna talk a little bit later about a company that was selling spore syringes for $110 a piece, and then they when it didn't germinate their shitty grain bags, then they would tell you, oh well, you need to subscribe to our monthly education program. It's $100 a month. So then they'd buy more shit from them and subscribe to it, and they just kept taking people. The last I knew, they were spending like $40K a month on Facebook ads and just making, I mean, like $500,000 a month, like insane money. One of my buddies lives by the guy whose business it was, and he drives and I hope he's listening because he's a piece of fucking shit. He drives a little purple Porsche around, and we know where you live, bro. So one of these days, somebody who you fucked over is gonna fucking key your car, is gonna get his money back somehow. That's what I hope. One of my good friends started a Discord specifically because there were hundreds of people that were disgruntled and got screwed over thousands of dollars by this company. And so they started a group. They taught everybody how to grow mushrooms for free, as inexpensively as possible. They all became amazing cultivators. And, now they got this really special, amazing little community sadly, it's all based on the trauma they experienced by this company. But yeah, man, there are so many ways. And the companies look legit, right? They got to be legit. They're paying for Facebook ads. But
yeah, it sucks, man.
They don't have to be.
Yeah. And then here the good people are like struggling to even hang on because they're not even getting any sales. Meanwhile, all these scammers are just making hand over fist. It's kind of sad, but
we live in America, Brock. It's the way. It don't matter how you make the money. Money equals success. That's what everybody believes. Everybody thinks. No poor person thinks that they're living a rich, amazing life. And they might be.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a big house and a big backyard and you don't go on 15 trips every year and you don't got the Rolex and you don't smoke a Cuban cigar and you don't buy the most expensive tequila and you don't this and you don't that and you don't the other thing, and you don't keep buying, then how could you fucking possibly be happy, Brock? How? How could we be happy?
I had a recent mushroom experience with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the same thing. It's like, why do we equate, this is off subject, but it's like a lot of us equate our success to how much money we have, when really it's like there's a lot of joy to be had in life that doesn't even involve money at all. It's like just that experience of being out there at the beach in Hawaii and just with mushrooms and have an amazing psychedelic experience. Like that was like the crescendo for me. It was awesome.
Yeah, man. The best thing in life's are free. I didn't just make that up, man. That's a saying, and it's a saying for a reason. The really amazing things that make us really happy, that make us feel human and special, don't cost any money. They just cost time and attention and concern and compassion and a halfway decent attitude. That's all it takes. I mean, I remember watching this movie. I hope I'm getting the name right. I think the movie was Bolt. It was a cartoon. Once I started having kids, I got all of a sudden I'm watching all these cartoons all the time. And so this movie Bolt, it's about a dog that's an action hero in movies. And so he blows things up and he can fly around, but he can't really because he's just a dog. But he's a dog actor that plays a superhero dog. And there's a scene in the movie where I think he's riding on a train. It's been a hot minute since I saw this movie, but it really stuck with me. He's riding on the train. He's going to do more of his little superhero dog actor shit. And he looks out the window and he sees a dog playing fetch with his owner. And the dog is fucking happy. Like happy. Just blissed out. No cares in the world. And the dog, the superhero actor dog, right? That's us. That's the point of the movie. He just looks and he sees it. It's right there. All he needs to be happy is right there, and he just keeps going right by it. Mm-hmm. That's what we're doing every day. Every fucking day, that's what we're doing. But it is not really entirely our faults, because it's every inch of this fucking country is designed to make me buy shit every fucking day. All the time. I couldn't possibly want something. If I walked into a public space and told people, you know what makes me happy? Making BLT sandwiches with a tomato that I grew, they'd go, oh, fucking weirdo hippie.
Yeah.
You're not rich? Oh, we went to Italy last week. Where'd you go? I just had this happen. My daughter is doing ski club. It's like $200. Scrape up the money for ski club. And, automatically it's, oh, you don't have a season pass? Oh, you don't have a season pass? Oh, we don't usually come here. We usually go to Vail. I'm just like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, I ski too. I've gone to some of those cool places, but like, flexing on me is not making you happy. Why are you doing that? I don't know. So what's wrong with the Myco community? Nothing. It's exactly like the rest of the communities in the world, right? What's different, and this is a good segue, as I want to talk about. What's different is that the psychonauts in this community, or the people who have said, hey, I'm going to give this a try, and had their minds fucking blown, sit back and go, oh, this is a special community, right? They've met the sentient beings. They've gone to the fourth waiting room in a DMT trip. They've talked to the trees. They've done whatever the fuck they've done. And they're enlightened. They talk to the 13 alien or the 7 aliens, right? That all this shit that people talk about. And so you're like, this community should be better, because all of us are sitting here going, psychedelics made me a better person, made me a more deeply, authentically spiritual person, made me happier, granted me a greater perspective. And so that must mean that in this community, it should be different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
you would think.
You would think, but it's not.
I feel like we have a long way to go, but I believe in us.
I mean, look, every time my high school, my senior year, we went to state for football. We're at Walled Lake. We're down, looking like we're gonna lose, and my buddy Charles tosses up a Hail Mary, like a total Hail Mary play, and my other buddy catches it, and we win the game. It does not usually go down like that. For me, the psychedelic stuff, that's the Hail Mary right now. I hope we can catch it. I hope we can catch that Hail Mary, because I don't know. I'm not super optimistic. But what am I going to do? Dig a fucking hole and die in it? No, that's why we're doing this show. That's why you do your Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's saving the world, but I can save a person.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's going to save the world, but we can save a couple, a marriage, a child, a person.
Exactly.
Right? We can do something.
Yep, that's why we do what we do, is not
Exactly.
to save the world, just help one person at a time in the community. And
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I love it. So what advice would you give anybody, new grower, experienced grower? Do you, in being in that group, have you seen sort of common threads? Do you see angles, like the most common angle that works all the time? Any shreds of commonality in
Well,
some of these approaches?
I don't really know what's working for the scammers or not. I think all the scams that they're doing work to an extent. A lot of what I see is just stolen photos. That's what we catch the most, because that's an easy indication that they're just all around scammers. If you're stealing people's photos, I've had somebody repost one of my photos in the community, and they were just, they're just a regular person and been like, oh, I'm getting ready to grow these, and I wanted to have this as a reference, and that's fine. But you can tell when somebody is using your content for not the right reasons.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to stop. But yeah, with the other stuff, the stolen photos are like the easiest thing to catch. Everything else is pretty tricky. You're kind of relying on other community members to come in and tell you, hey, this happened to me. And then, but then, like I was saying earlier, we don't want to just bash somebody because they made a mistake one time with this one customer. Or maybe they didn't even make a mistake, but maybe the customer thinks that they were trying to slight them in some way. So it's just, we're having to use our best judgment on that. And, we're not perfect either. Things fall through the cracks. And this group wasn't ever made to catch every scammer. It was kind of a fun thing that I wanted to take on, because we get to, talk shit on the scammers a little bit. You know what I mean? Just like, because it's annoying. It's annoying being taken advantage of and not being able to do anything about it. And having this group has been kind of empowering a little bit. So we're like, yeah, fuck you, scammers. We can make our own group and keep you out of our community now. So now what? You know what I mean? It's kind of.
Now, what do you think about how do I do this one? Hey, okay, I'm gonna ask a question, right? I'm Columbo. I don't know if you ever watched that show, Columbo. Peter Falk. I'm so old. He was a detective, and he acted unassuming and stupid, And he just asked these innocent little questions, and he just kept asking them until he figured out who fucking did it every time. So, okay, I'm going to just ask an innocent question. What do you do about the very well-known people that are, maybe they're not utterly horrible scam artists? They provide something to people sometimes, but also oftentimes they don't, or they fuck up all the time, or their shit's contaminated all the time, and they really truly have a track record for showing they don't care, or for verbally assaulting people, when they just ask for their fucking money back. Have you dealt with those people? Because in my experience, there are people that people just don't touch these people, and I'm like, how the fuck are these fucking losers still here? Like, I have had hundreds of people tell me about these people. How is their grift still working?
Yeah, they just have big followings, I think, more than just in the Facebook community. But, for those people, I wouldn't really post about them in the community because I'm not trying to pull the community apart.
Right.
I want to keep everything kind of together. So that's a question that we have to ask ourselves before we allow any big posts like that.
Right.
Like, what is this conducive to bringing the community together? And if not, I would probably keep it in a private message to the person who was posting and being like, hey, this isn't a good thing for the community. But if you're upset about it, definitely don't do business with them anymore.
Right.
And let people know that you're close with in your circle to not do business with them either. And I think you could still, they don't really need our group. You know what I mean? They don't
Sure.
really need the Mycology Anti-Scam Network. They, because I don't know. You could get the word out a little bit more using a community like ours, but we're not gonna just approve every post about so and so did this and so said that. So we're just kind of, I don't know. We've had some people get mad at us that we didn't post their posts, and we have to let them know, like, hey, it's nothing personal. It's just we don't want to cause too many problems for ourselves and others in the community. But yeah.
Yeah, but that's fucked up.
I know sometimes it's like being on neutral ground can be hurtful to certain people sometimes. So that's another thing. Is like there's no right answer. I feel like there's always going to be some people that get hurt in some way for us not doing a certain post or whatever. It's just.
Well, we already just talked about we can't save everybody.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you, my big concern is I don't even think we've seen the influx yet. You got a handful of places decriminalized.
Mm-hmm.
It's not major yet. It's not mainstream yet. The research is only just beginning. So, hate to say it, but I think it can get radically worse. And it probably will. So, I'm always just over here scratching my head going, how do you get to these people first before the wolves do, right? And all I can do, educate, put some episodes out, talk about it a lot, talk about ethics. I mean, I started the show beating a dead horse about ethics. So it bothered me back then, and it wasn't even as bad then as it is now. So
yeah.
I
see a comment over here. Some people, I guess, have had photos stolen and they posted it and those were deleted. But we recently had, because of these policy changes, we had to go through all of our groups and delete a bunch of shit. And we just had to do it because we kept getting hit. And Mycology Anti-Scam Network almost got banned because of that. So we actually put it on pause and then moved over to a temporary one for a while. It didn't do near as well as the old one for some reason, but yeah, we started that one, and then we weren't allowing any screenshots for a while,
Right.
and we had to delete a bunch of old, stuff. So yeah, if you made a post about stolen photos and it was deleted, that's probably why. It's just because we had to delete a bunch of fruit pictures and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so many layers of, I mean, it's so fun here now, isn't it? Oh my God. I gotta fucking start drinking again. Fuck. It's like, damn. Fucking Zuckerberg. Between Zuckerberg and these fucking scammer motherfuckers, and all we're trying to do is just cheer the fuck up, figure some shit out, heal some trauma, whatever the fuck we're trying to do over here. And yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
I think truly you hit on it a little bit. Be good to your friends in this space. Be real good to them. Start trading with them more. Man, I used to trade with my friends all the time. I don't do trade so much anymore. I got too many people now who just always asking me about, can I get this? Can I get that? Can I get the other thing? I'm broke, but I want to grow. Okay, well, growing costs a lot of money. Okay, well, let me send you some spores anyway. So, take care of your people. All politics is local, man. Like, just take care of your people. Be nice to people who message you. If I don't like answering the same questions over and over again, I mean, y'all don't even know. I mean, Brock has probably also experienced this much, but some people watching, go, oh, why can't these people just help me out? And then I respond to them and they go, oh my God, you answered me. I can't fucking believe it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, that's how I know most of these other people don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I can't become your best friend and talk to you for 3 hours every day, but if you ask me a question about mycology, I'll probably answer it. That's what we got to do.
Mm-hmm.
We got to grow the community, and we have to train ethical people, ethical vendors, ethical growers to continue to be more. Bro, it's like Star Wars, right? You got to fight the dark side. We got to get some fucking Jedi trained up in this bitch. That's what we got to do. So be a Jedi. Get out there. Tell people it's cool to be ethical. It's cool to take care of people.
Yeah. Luckily, I feel like we have a really tight group of friends around that care about each other and do what they say they're going to do. And I feel really lucky to be a part of this community. It's been really awesome, life-changing, really. Yeah.
I'm with you there, dude. I think I've alluded to this before, but I've never felt called to do anything, but just something resonates in this community for me in a way where I'm just like, I can't leave it. I could never leave it. And I could never stop trying to showcase all the cool people in this community, because that's where the strength is. The strength in this community, guys, I'm going to just slow this shit down one time real quick. The strength and beauty of this community is in all the people in the community. It isn't a superstar. This isn't the fucking LeBron James show. This isn't one LeBron James is not why this community is amazing. It's everybody makes it amazing. The diversity, the dynamics, the many paths to the same destination. That's what it is. That's why I even when there are nights where I'm like, bro, I'd love to be asleep right now. It's 10:30. I was up at 6 a.m. I got 3 fucking kids. But here I am talking about this because it matters, because there's so many people out there hurting. So anyway.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, so anybody who wants to join the Facebook group and stay up to date on that, I'm sure they'd love to have you. And everybody, think about it like this. You can just join it and just read it, or you can be a part of it and help out and comment and educate. And nobody has to wait to be invited to be a moderator, which It's overrated. Anybody who thinks like, oh, I'm just waiting to be a moderator, don't like. You can be helpful and useful and matter to people without a role, right? You
Being
can
a
just be there.
moderator is a pain in the ass sometimes.
It really can be. Yes.
Yeah.
So just help out, and that's usually how people get asked to be moderators anyway. Is you sit there and go, we like this guy. This guy's like making me feel like I'm not doing my job anymore. He's so good, and then they get asked. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Oh yeah. If you guys go to join, just please answer the membership questions. That's kind of how we vet people, members who want to join. Keeping the scammers out, because we do get scammers often that try to get in there. Yeah. So please answer answer the questions thoroughly and kind of like in a genuine way, and you'll get in for sure.
Nice. All right, dude. Well, thank you so much for hopping on again. Always a pleasure. Hope you're enjoying that weather out there. Oh, I can still see the daylight. Yep. So,
yeah, it's been nice.
Still got daylight over there? It's still nighttime though, isn't it?
It's about 5:30 right now.
Oh, that's right. Oh, you're way over.
Yeah.
You're way over. Yeah. You're just in the middle of the fucking ocean, bro. Do you ever just stop and think about how far away from literally everything you are?
Yeah, on that last mushroom trip, I was like, whoa.
The mushroom showed me just how fucking far away from everything I was. Yes. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it. And appreciate the Facebook group itself. I have had many people from it reach out to me when there's particularly bad players, when people are just really succeeding and hitting somebody with some good scam. And it's always great to be like, oh, they care enough to let me know. I appreciate that. And then I can let people know and all that good stuff. So yeah, thank you for that. Cool, man. All right. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
All right. See ya. All right, guys. Broccoli. Sorry, that, man, I feel like I got a little tore up on that one. A little depressing. It is depressing. It's sad. I am the kind of guy that's like, really? Why does everybody gotta be this way? But I guess they do. I don't know. Can't help it. So, I was, here we go. Okay. All right. So I had mentioned that I have a vendor, I don't know if, I guess the word commercial vendor is appropriate. Like he knows what he's doing. I watched him when he was just like me, and go from just being, small potatoes home grower to running a business with a bunch of employees, keeping a lot of people happy on a regular basis. And when I did the post, I forget if it was Thursday or Friday, about, hey, if you've been taken advantage of, we should talk. And he reached out and he said, hey, you want to hear about all the things that scammers do to businesses? And I was like, oh shit, I never even thought about that. So without further ado, let me welcome to the show Howard of Booming Acres.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, man?
Oh, I was just hanging out. It's Monday.
It is Monday, yes. Just the other day I was thinking, why did I pick Monday? It's like, you're getting off the weekend, kids going back to school, and then I guess I wanted even more to do on my Monday. But it balances it out. It balances it out. Cool, man. So yeah, talk to me, because you have probably, so you've experienced scams, or at least, been around this problem, from being just an at-home grower to, I supply some of my friends with some Myco supplies, all the way up to now everybody knows, Booming Acres is the real deal. They're higher volume. They do a lot of work. They provide a lot of product for people. And so, as you reminded me, that makes you a target. So yeah, talk to me about how that's evolved and kind of your perspective on scamming in the community.
Yeah. I mean, we get people trying to scam us. I hear a lot about people getting scammed. We'll get people that message us like, hey, I'm trying to grow my own now. I lost a bunch of money, trying to buy stuff online. So I hear about that a lot. Yeah, I mean, we get both sides of it. I personally never fell for any scams back when I was, younger and, buying stuff from folks. There
Nice.
wasn't really a lot of internet stuff going on back then, and it was like a little bit harder to scam people back when I was still doing all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I never fell for anything like that. Luckily, knock on wood. But yeah, we get people that try to say, like, hey, my package didn't show up, and then it's like, well, dude, there's a picture of the package on your porch, has a picture, go on Google Maps, and that's your house. Like, I can see that's your house. And they're like, well, it's not there. And it's like, dude, I mean, yeah, maybe you've got a porch pirate, but then it really is just like, I don't know, man. What are the chances that like someone came to your house and like the 45 minutes between the delivery window and you messaging us saying that, oh, someone came and took it, like people, they'll say things that fast. They'll be like, oh, it says that it got dropped off and I went outside to get it and it's not there. And it's like, yeah, I don't think someone was waiting for your package for you, man. So yeah, there's some people like that, some people that try to do stuff like that. Stuff does happen. So a lot of the time, not a lot of the time, but sometimes we'll just, take their word for it, send stuff out, it is what it is. I don't get how some of these vendors, like you're talking about the mono-carrying guy. It's like, are you serious? You can't just send out something better? You can't refund the guy? Like, how much do mono-carrions cost? And did you really spend all that money like immediately? Like, yeah, that's tough.
Well,
That's
the answer
wild.
to that question is probably yes. If they had so much money that given that refund wasn't a big deal, maybe they would. But I mean, the truth is, a lot of these people are vending because they need supplemental income. Because welcome to America, everything's getting expensive as shit. And so everybody's got a job, but everybody's got a side hustle or a grift or whatever, right? Everybody's looking for a way to make another buck. And so
Yeah.
I think this is frequently the case. There's another guy we're going to talk about a little bit later who I think he collected a bunch of money from people. Don't know what he did with it. Have a couple hunches, but I'm not gonna show the guy respect and not talk about any of it. But even so, I mean, if you're playing big boy games, you got to be ready to play big boy games. You can't overpromise and not deliver, or at least radically underdeliver, because then you're in this really bad situation. And if you
Yeah.
can't be honest about it, then now you got a reputation.
Yeah. Luckily, we're big enough where we have, a UPS account and a FedEx account, and so whenever we do have to replace packages, we can get reimbursed for them. They just started doing like GPS tracking for all the drivers, so like whenever they drop off the packages, they log the GPS coordinates, and so that really has just like disappeared a lot of those like missing package claims, because like they don't even have to talk to the driver. And so people will be like, oh, well, they immediately denied my claim on the missing package. And it's like, well, yeah, they just checked the GPS and they see that it was scanned in front of your house. Like,
right.
They don't like missing packages. It happens. But like, if that driver delivered your box, it's probably there, So yeah, I think a lot of the grifts that people are doing, people figure it out, and so like, the larger powers that be, they're losing money on it too, and so like they have the power to protect themselves, and so they invest in fixing those things. It's a lot harder for us smaller people to defend against that, and sometimes we have to eat it, but
right,
it all comes around. People that are scamming people on like Cash App stuff, or like Venmo or Zelle or whatever, like eventually someone does take, the half hour, the 45 minutes or whatever to report you, and then your bank account gets closed down. And then if like that's all that you know how to do is scam people, then you don't have a bank account, you can't scam people anymore, and now you're really up the creek. Like, you can't go and get a job if you can't do direct deposit.
Yep.
Or even worse, they'll send the police to your house, because it's like, you do get those people where maybe they live in an area where it is legal for them to buy certain things, and then they try to buy something online, and then someone scams them, and they're like, well shit, this, I wasn't breaking any laws. So they report it to the police, and then, you know, they use that bank account information, and they'll get you, you know, that kind of shit. It just takes one person to, you know, step up and be like, all right, I got scammed, and I didn't deserve it, so I'm going to take the time to do this. And then, you know, crime doesn't pay in the long run. Like, it all catches up with these people. So yeah, I mean, a lot of these scams, like, it's limited time runs for a lot of these scams, you know?
Yeah. And I just have to assume, you know, it's a lot of desperate people who just got all the right. If I can do 5 scams, what one am I going to do? I'm going to do the best bang for the buck, the easiest one, the lowest risk with the most money. And sadly, there's a whole bunch of opportunity in this community because, like Rock was talking about, all they got to do is steal people's photos and they're done. And get ready for AI, because now I can, for $20, I can get an AI bot that's the mushroom cultivator AI bot. So I don't even got to learn about how to cultivate mushrooms. I just let the bot do the talking for me.
Yeah. I've seen vendors that are posting pictures of AI grows, and it's like super obvious, and they're using them for ads, and it's like, you know, yeah, sure, there's going to be those people that just breeze through them and take it at face value, but it's like, dude, like, just ask for a customer picture, you know, like that kind of stuff, you know. It is kind of crazy what some of these other vendors are doing that's not, in my opinion, it's not above board. You're not necessarily lying to people, but you're kind of lying to people, you know. So yeah, it's just it is kind of shisty. I think a lot of like the in community stuff with people, you know, buying things, you know, hoping for finished product, let's say. I think that it's people that don't have like necessarily a lot of friends, you know. If you're in the community, or if you got good friends in real life, you know, if you know who to talk to, you can get these things in real life if you really don't want to grow them yourself. And I think that a lot of the people that get scammed, it's the people that don't have those connections. They don't want to spend the time to make friends with people that are doing the work, the people that are, you know, breeding or anything like that. And so they're going to be the easier targets. They're going to be the people that they don't have a friend to just ask, like, hey, can you get me this? Or do you know anybody that can get that?
Right.
And so the scammers, they know that. And so it's like, oh, that's an easy target. They don't have a friend to just ask. And so I'm here, and I'll take your money, you know, that kind of stuff. So I think it's really important to have like the strong community bonds, just because, you know, it eliminates that. You know, I'm not saying everybody in the community is going to ship out elbows or whatever, but you know, the fewer people that feel like, oh, all these people in this community that are looking for stuff, they're just sad people without friends. You know, if you know that once you rip someone off, that 100, 200, 300 people are going to know about it and be in your inbox, it's less likely to happen. So
right. Yep. Yeah, we gotta, man, you know what would be good is like a mailing list. Like a scammer mailing list. Maybe that's what I'm doing next. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of the vendors, like we'll get some interesting customers now and then, you know, and so people will share names around and just be like, heads up for this guy, you know, he's placed 2 orders and he did chargebacks on both of them, or you know, he went ape shit and was threatening me, that kind of stuff. So, you know, the vendors, there's only so much that we can do. You know, because you can't really share customer info publicly, but you know, we can share names for people if we need to. And you know, that's just another thing. Like, I'm always friends with all the other vendors, and so, you know, we've had some issues with customers. We let the other vendors know. We've had other vendors reach out to us about other vendors that are using our pictures for some of their postings and stuff. And so a lot of the time, whenever I'm having an issue with someone, you know, stealing our stuff, it's because another vendor told us about it. So yeah, that's whole
cool. That's cool that you guys have that just that respect for each other. That's the golden rule in practice right there. I love that, man. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, like a lot of us vendors, I said this in the last podcast, like there's plenty of space out here, you know, there's plenty of food for everyone to eat. And so it doesn't have to be like a super cutthroat, nasty business, you know, like so many other businesses are out there now. And so it is kind of off-putting whenever they're like a new vendor shows up and they are being like that, you know, stealing people's pictures, stealing people's products, or, you know, just copy pasting someone's product description, stuff like that. And so if someone just
Howard,
reaches
why
out,
would they want to do their own work when they
I
can
know,
go to your
right?
site and clone it?
Yeah. And there's some vendors do some shiesty stuff. Just like obviously we just sell like production stuff, and I'm more friends with just other production people, don't really dabble too much in the genetic side of things. But yeah, so all of us, we kind of pal up together. Everybody kind of keeps an eye on other people's stuff, and like we all get plenty of ads for, you know, the supplies that we sell, even though we're vendors. Google doesn't realize that, so we see other people's ads, and so whenever stuff comes up, it's like, hey man, I'm friends with you, I don't know this guy, do you know that he's doing this? You know, that kind of stuff comes up.
It reminds me of like back in the day, I remember going to a Kmart, and they had like a bunch of photos of the shoplifters for the week to watch out for, right? Like, so everybody that come in would be like, oh, okay, look out for these five guys.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Etsy used to have, there was like a separate website that would track like Etsy reviewers, and so you could see it was called like Etsy Karens or something like that. And so if you get a bad review, you could put in the person's name and you could see the other reviews that they had left and see like, oh, they only give 1 stars. And then you could also use that to see like if they message you and they're like demanding a refund, you could look at their old reviews and see if they were, you know, ripping people off or something. And they got rid of that. Etsy changed their algorithm or their API functions or whatever. But Amazon still has that. So you can kind of look and see like, oh, this person only ever leaves 1-star reviews. This person only ever leaves 3-star or 5-star reviews. This person's only left reviews for our competitors' products, and they have no other reviews, and they're all 5-star reviews. So there's a little bit of tracking that goes on that's public and then private as well. So
interesting. Yeah, man, I remember back when there was a point where I'm like, oh, I can't even trust these Amazon reviews anymore, because there would be ones where it was just all positive and you're like, there's no freaking way everybody's happy. Yeah, you gotta start looking a little bit more carefully.
Yeah, it's kind of disheartening because, you know, we work really hard on having a really good product, and so whenever all of the reviews that we get are natural, and so whenever you look at someone's product and they're a brand new vendor, they've only been selling their product for like 3-4 weeks, they've got 10 reviews and they're all 5 stars, and they were all within like 2 weeks, and the product's only been out for like 3 weeks, and it's like, wait, you got 10 reviews from your first 20 purchases, and then, you know, that skews things, and then people are expecting to get something great, and it's like, oh, but it's not. And then they have this bad idea for the rest of the community. They're like, they go on Reddit or whatever, and then people are like, oh, just make your own stuff, you know, and it just gives everybody kind of a bad look, in my opinion. So that's another thing, that going off of the whole like being dishonest without straight up lying to your customers, that kind of stuff. So
oh God, it's almost like there's nothing you can do. Wherever you are, whatever you do, somebody's gonna try to figure out how to exploit it.
Yeah. I mean, that's why you just got to stick with like you're saying, the golden rule, you know, just do things how you would want. Like with us, it's run a business how you would want a business to be ran, treat other people how you would want to be treated. And for the most part, it all evens out. As long as you're watching yourself, taking care of yourself, making sure that, you know, everybody around you is happy, everybody around you is in good shape, then if everybody's doing that for everybody, then it all kind of works out in the end. As long as you're not, you know, like holding yourself over everybody else and only looking out for yourself, and doesn't matter who you're stepping on or stealing from, you know, once you start getting into that, then yeah, you're going to have a bad time. Everybody else is going to have a bad time. So it's just like, got to take care of how's it say? It's tend to the garden that you can touch, you know? You take care of your area, everybody takes care of their area, and all the areas are nice.
I like that. And while you're saying that, I was thinking to myself, I was like, and I know you, and we got a friend who is also in the same game as you are. And I can say right now that I know the reason you and he are successful is because you guys are absolutely 100% available, connected to, earnestly, and helping out people all the freaking time.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks that, like, oh wow, they're doing well, all I got to do is just make a website. So they go and they clone your website, and they don't realize, they don't see, again, this goes back to what I said at the top, anybody making money in this space is working their fucking asses off. You're working, right? I know you know you're working all the time, right? And you got multiple employees working all the time, right? To make money, you got to put in the work. It's not a abracadabra. There's no trick unless you're scamming people or culture vulturing or stealing Howard's photos and tricking people into buying shit you're never going to send to them, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's all a lot of work. I mean, if you're getting into this business and expecting it to be super simple and to be a quick buck, make it easy, unless you're scamming people, like that's just not how it is. I spend probably 4 to 5 hours a day now just sitting and answering emails, and it might not even be emails about our products or anything. It might just be like, we get emails for other people's products and they're emailing us because they don't get a response from who they purchased from, but they heard about us on Reddit.
Bro,
they saw us on Instagram or in a Facebook group.
You win with customer service.
Yeah. And I mean, overall, I'll answer their emails all day, because like in the end, we want people to be happy growing. We want everybody to accomplish the same thing. So kind of sucks that they're not our products, but it's like, whatever, I'll take the 30 seconds that it takes to explain how to fruit a bag to somebody, even if it's not our bag, and it just sucks that some of those vendors, they just brush it off, and it's like, we got your money, it's fine, like you figure it out, that kind of stuff. So
bro. But it's also smart, because I mean, I think everybody wants to talk about building a brand. I don't know if everybody exactly understands what that means or what a brand is. Like the MycoGeeky brand, it's just me, right? The Booming Acres brand, it's you, right? Like these are the brands, it's us. So who are we? What are we doing? Yeah, you got to show up, you got to be available. Yeah, you got to help people out. It's that easy. Shit, the thing you said about helping out other competitors' customers because nobody was responsive, bro. I have repaired other competitors' sterilizers because they wouldn't repair them. They wouldn't respond to the person. Or worse than that, one of my competitors sells a service plan for his sterilizer and won't repair it within the service plan window. So I've repaired those sterilizers.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably draw the line at that. I wouldn't replace somebody else's bag. But,
I'm sitting there going, here we go. All right, you send, this is messed up. Let me just fix it. I know it's easy. And I fixed it and sent it back to them. And 3 months later, they said, I don't even want this guy's sterilizer anymore. I'm going to buy one of yours. So it's also smart business, right? Because you're building a brand. You're showing people who you are.
Yeah. And I mean, like there is, always that thing of like, well, it's not our bag now, but maybe it'll be our bag later.
Sure.
They might not have been the one posting on Reddit about how friendly we are, but now they are, now they know they're going to spread our name. And like, in the end, I'm happy to have another person that knows that I'm an upscale kind of guy,
There you go.
Just want everybody to be growing mushrooms. Like that really is the end goal. So I think a lot of people get lost in that, where it's like, oh, I'm just out here. I'm running a business. I'm trying to make money. And it's like, yeah, I mean, everybody's got to get paid. We all got to get ours. But like in the end, like what are we doing? Like we all hopefully got into this business for a roundabout reason that's similar. And in the end, you know, as long as it works out and everybody's happy growing mushrooms, like that person's taking care of themselves, they're enhancing their life and their lives of them, the people around them, and everybody else benefits from it, you know?
Exactly, man. Well, that's why I like you. I mean, I knew you're a good guy from way back in the day. And then as you just were scaling up and scaling up, I was like, yeah, this guy's good. He's got it. He's doing it. He's providing the gear people want. One of our mutual friends, he made a comment one time. He said, you know what they used to say back for the gold rush? They were like, you know, most of those gold prospectors did not get rich. You know who made money during the gold rush? It was the guy selling the pickaxes.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we're selling
like,
shovels.
Yeah, that's, you know, there you go. And you're helping a lot of people out. Because again, and we've talked about this, not everybody is going to go all the way down this rabbit hole, but they still want to grow some mushrooms.
Yeah.
So it's cool to make that easier. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, and we're definitely still in the phase of like the shovels are very necessary right now, you know, because not everybody lives in an area where everything is available to them. Not everybody can go to the dispo and pick up, you know, some medicine. And so having the access to things is important. And so just being able to provide that and provide a service, and like all of the nonsense that we've gone through dealing with, you know, Amazon and like Etsy and, you know, even credit card processors, being able to sell products that are 100% legal worldwide in any country. And we still get a little bit of flack here and there. We get a little bit less now because we've grown, but getting flack for selling something that's 100% legal just because it's counterculture adjacent, you know, dealing with that kind of stuff, that's still a thing. And so being able to provide the access to it, you know, it is still important. And so providing a good product, you know, it's important. So yeah, I mean,
well, it's funny that because it's adjacent, that you're you know, you carry some of that that heat, because the equivalent of that, the same logic that says that's okay for them to do, would be the same logic that says anybody that's ever been killed by a gun, that family can go and sue whoever made that gun.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, my
that
analogy is, you know, Home Depot sells ropes right next to the knives, and like they don't get in any trouble if someone gets murdered. So
I mean,
it's like our products, you know, they come with a little disclaimer and whatnot. It says only legal purposes. So yeah, and yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, it's good stuff.
Cool, man. Well, I'm glad you're in this space. The longer I'm around here, the more I'm like, God dang. I thought that guy was a decent guy. Nope, guess he's not. Okay. Glad Howard's still a decent guy. I got a sneaking suspicion that there's never going to be the day where it's like, guess what Howard was doing? He was smuggling children through Cambodia, and like I'm pretty sure that day will never happen. So I'm glad you're here. I have definitely heard countless positive things about you. Really glad that you make supplies for people and get them going, get them excited. I know a lot of people in my Discord, and a lot of people who knew you from past Discords are like, oh, of course, I got my stuff from him. I got my stuff from Howard. Yeah, I used to only buy from him. And so you're like the significant part of a lot of people's origin story or early years, you know, cultivating. So it's cool to see you sticking around and providing that in this community. Not a lot of people stick around. A lot of people seem to come and go.
Yeah. I mean, as long as people still want stuff, we'll still be here. I don't have much of a backup plan at this point.
You know, pretty soon AI and robots are going to be doing all our jobs anyway. We're all going to be on universal basic income, and we're all just going to be addicted to Netflix, so it won't even matter.
Can't wait for that.
All right, dude. Well, so we're going to move into like a roundtable segment. If you want to stick around and chop it up, we're going to, you know, exchange some stories. Again, for all you scammers out there, we're not naming names. Everybody knows who you are anyway. And if they don't, now they know that all they got to do is, like Howard said, tend to their garden. And if enough people are tending to their gardens and their friend networks, you guys are going to have to figure something else out anyway. So yeah, that's what we're up to. If you want to stick around, let me know. If you got to peace out, I totally understand.
Yeah, I got a while, so I can hang out for a bit.
Cool, man. All right, so let me pull off your overlay and start pulling people in. All right, natural state. Looks like Brock was gonna come. He's still here, but he's not on camera, so I'll wait for him. And then, wouldn't be a live show without my buddy, the one and only Ed Grand. What's up, dude?
Hello.
Hey.
How are you doing, man? What's up?
Hey, man, I keep thinking one of these times I'm going to pull you on camera and you're not going to do that giggle that you do.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You do,
Several
always.
people have noticed that.
Yes. That I like it.
I'm a happy guy, man. I'm happy.
There you go. There you go.
Dude, it's because I'm baked all the time, you know? That's what my students used to think. I used to get accused of being, like, high all the time. They're like, he's... And, like, no, I've never, ever, ever in 18 years come into this classroom high. But everybody thinks I am.
Yeah. Do you smoke weed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I got... Yeah, dude, I don't want to get me started. I've got some pretty strong opinions about... yeah, let's not even talk about it.
All right, guys. So, I want to tell you, it's a timely story. It's pretty recent. So when I did that Instagram post and was soliciting stories from people, this was the grand prize winner. This was almost not quite half of all the responses I got. And as they kept trickling in, it kept getting more and more disheartening for me because I was really giving this guy a chance. I'm gonna tell that part of the story here. So back in late October, I was on Instagram and I caught a post from somebody who looked like they had a prototype for a flow hut I never saw before. And I read the post, said, oh yeah, this is, it's going to be lightweight. It's going to ship cheap. It's a little bit smaller. We got it all figured out. And this is going to be this new price point for, a really high quality flow hood. That's not quite a 2x4, but it's better than a 2x2. And I looked at it and I thought, hell man, that could be great. I got people all the time asking me about flow hoods and, they can't afford, a Mac 10. You can't buy them used. Like I got that thing for $280. You can't get that anymore. So I'm like, okay, cool. This will be neat. And then, one day, not too far long after that, I got a handful of messages, from random people going, who you should have on the show is this guy, who's making these flow hoods. And he's a great grower, and he's this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, cool. But this has been a tactic other people have used where they like go get their friends to go talk them up to me. Like it's all authentic, even though they never say like, let's pace these out, let's not be smart about
like 10 people in 10 minutes.
Yeah. It's like the same day. And it's just, even if 2 or 3 people on the same day are talking about the same guy, it's instant red flag for me. Like there's an agenda there.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, okay, cool. Yeah. I was paying attention to this guy and I was honestly hopeful that this was all going to pan out because that was a need for the community. And then that person, because I guess that trick didn't work, hopped in my DMs and was like, hey, you should have me on your show. I got this new flow hood. And I was like, yeah, dude, I actually, I've been checking it out. I'm going to be keeping my eye on it because I think this could be really good for the community. And he says, so, yeah, well, why not have me on the show? And I was like, look, get it made. Oh, he told me, I got a Chinese outfit making it. This is just the prototype, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, oh, wow, this is great. Yeah, so this is going to be the real deal. Great. So when you get them, let me know. Send me one. I'll try it out. I'll review it. I'll do a video of it. I'll have you on to talk about it, assuming that it's as good as you say it's going to be, which why not? I got every reason to believe it should.
They looked cool. I mean, I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just like, okay, neat. And yeah, you could tell he kind of didn't like that, but he was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then flash forward, he's doing some growing and getting the pictures out there and all that kind of stuff. And sorry, I guess my dogs decided to show up here. And then fast forward, I get my first person reaching out about this guy, saying, hey, guess what? I bought one of these guys' flow hoods, and let me send you some photos. He sent me like 20 photos, and he had sent me videos proving that there were air leaks all around it and showing exactly how sloppy the workmanship was and how underpowered the fans were and how poorly connected to the carcass it was. And then he tore it apart and really exposed the poor craftsmanship of it. And it certainly, unfucking doubtedly, was not made in China. Was not made in China. So it's like, okay, so this looks like he sold you like his little hodgepodge prototype. So I actually didn't confront the guy, didn't anything. I was just kind of like, okay, so not going to get my hopes up about any Chinese flow hoods, that ship cheap showing up anytime soon. And get a couple more people talking, like I've gotten some cultures from him. They weren't what they were supposed to be, or I didn't get anything from him. And I told one guy, I was like, dude, some of these people you just got to harass the fuck out of, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I do think that guy eventually got some cultures. So there's like a mounting amount of information to suggest this is not the kind of guy I'm going to tell people, yeah, go buy one of his flow hoods. So anyway, that was that. I think I had a couple people bring him up and ask me, like, people ask me who I should buy from and stuff. And they bring him up, and I said, well, if you make an order from that guy, I'd probably make a real small order. Well, why? Well, I've also heard some bad things about him, but some of his stuff looks cool. So, just be careful. And a little bit after, I don't know, a few months down the road, out of the blue, he hits me up in I think it was on Instagram. What the fuck, dude? I heard you're talking shit about me behind my back. What's the deal? I support you. I talk you up to people. I defended you against this other dude on Facebook that's always trying to bust my balls because I don't know, he's got nothing else to do. He's bored. But and I'm sitting there going, and okay, so I'll leave some parts of it out. For a while, he was just going into a little self-righteousness, and I was like, whatever, okay, fine, you felt attacked, you got to defend yourself, I get it. And but the end of it was, if I wanted to, I could take you down. I got a big following, and maybe it was a fucking threat. And I'm sitting there going, like, I'm trying to protect people from getting taken advantage of, and you feel like you need to threaten me. So I came at him real calm and was like, look, man, I got no problem telling you exactly what's going on. So I told him where I was coming from, what the stories I was told. And he goes, oh yeah, that situation. I think I know who you're talking about. Oh, that person was a psychopath. And went on this whole thing about how psychotic they were. And delusional, psychotic, crazy. Oh, scary, dude. Oh my God. If I could go over to do it again, I'd never sold it to him, all that crap. And I was like, okay, but you sold him a shitty flow hood. Like, I saw it. And he goes, oh, well, that was actually a mistake. My guy sent him the wrong flow hood. I'm sitting there going, $600 flow hood. And you accidentally sent him the shitty prototype? You couldn't tell the difference between your good flow hood and your shitty one. Okay. All right. So why didn't you send him the right one then when you found out you sent him the wrong one? Well, he wouldn't send me the right one. Or he wouldn't send me the bad one. He destroyed it. I said, okay, well, he was angry. You sent him a piece of shit. He got angry about it. So maybe the solution is to send him what he ordered. Oh, well, we're going to have to disagree on that. That's not how I see it. He should have sent me the other one back. I was like, okay, how about this? How about you send him the flow hood, and when he gets it and he knows he has what he ordered, then he might send the other flow hood back. Clearly, there was super poor communication. You got defensive. I mean, I don't think you handled this well. And he goes, well, we're going to have to agree to disagree. And I said, all right, cool, man. We can do that. How about this? How about we just start fresh, clean slate? So we did that. I even tried to provide an opportunity where I could check out some of his work and show him off a little bit. And then as soon as I did this post on Thursday, one after another, dude, ching, 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 ching. Many people didn't get a flow hood, or I think one or two of them got the same crappy flow hood. One guy said it arrived so damaged, both of the little pathetic fans were like freely shaking around in the carcass, and just utterly damaged and destroyed. No refund of the money. No anything. I mean, there's just at a certain point a preponderance of evidence, and I'm like, all right, I can't support this guy anymore. I don't know if I can really like actively give him a second chance. You know, he's often in my server peddling his wares and showing off his stuff for, you know, obviously promotional reasons, and talked to the moderators, and we all came to the decision he's got to go. When I banned him, I actually left him the message explaining what happened and why we did it. So he's gone. I have even up to an hour before this show aired, had another person reach out and tell me, you know who you should talk about? This guy selling these flow hoods. Not going to name his name. Do not, in this community, spend big money on random people. Just don't do it. Yeah. Anyway, so I wanted to talk to you guys about another sort of scammer situation, which is like the scamming from the inside of the community. This guy's a cultivator. This guy actually grows mushrooms. One guy, he attempted to make it right by sending him fruit in exchange for his money, which is like, so if you order a flow hood and you don't get it, and 4 months later you end up with some fruit, it's like, bro, it's like selling a Bible to the Catholic Church. Like,
well, not to mention, like,
selling drugs with more steps.
And some people might not be cool with that popping up in their mailbox, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know that I'd be chill with.
Well, I mean, this person agreed to it, so it
well,
was fine. And I think at a certain point you're like, I'm not going to get my money back from this guy. So if he's going to send me anything, I might as well take it.
Yeah.
And somebody asked why we're not naming names. Plain and simple, I'm not trying to make enemies. And for the same reason that Natural State earlier said, like, I think the best way, and anybody that we've talked about tonight, open invitation. You reach out to me. If you want to come on the show and talk about the situation publicly, I will 100% give you a chance to publicly defend yourself. Anybody that wants that. But for me, I'm not trying to dox somebody. I don't do that. I never have, even though I've had a bunch of people try to claim, oh, you know who probably got me shut down? MycoGeeky, bro. I got shit to fucking do. It was not me. It's not my style.
I think a lot of people want people to name names, but honestly, whenever you're a public figure, it can be kind of dangerous, because if you're a business and you name somebody else's business and you don't have if you don't have a dog in the fight, like if they're not the one that hurt you, and two, if you don't have like hard, solid evidence, you can get in a lot more trouble than that person. Like, that person might have sold something that wasn't good or something, but once you get into the area of like publicly denouncing someone, like, you can face like actual legal repercussions, and depending on the state, like, it can be pretty fierce. So like naming names, like it would be nice. Like, we would feel a lot better doing it sometimes, but like, especially being like public personas or like having a business, you can't really do that. Like, McDonald's can't say like, oh, Burger King sucks, fuck them. Like, you can't do that, you know? Like, kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
Right.
Well, it just stokes the fire too, right? Like that's not the intent here.
Yeah, you end up with just like a back and forth. Like even if you do come with receipts and everything, it's just going to turn into like, oh, well, I've got these reviews that say this, and I've got so many followers on Instagram that say this, and well, we've got our followers. You know, it really won't solve anything. And so it's like, really, as long as like the people that need to know, you know, the word will spread, and then a lot of the time with the people that are doing the scams, like selling bad genetics or selling bad equipment, you know, it's going to catch up pretty quick, because you can't do that for very long, you know, especially like whenever product reviews and like having affiliate marketing and stuff is so important nowadays, especially in like a niche hobby. Like you have to have a name for yourself. And so whenever you're doing something like that, you know, you're not going to last that long, because no one's going to buy your stuff.
Oh, exactly. Or worse than that, who's going to come on my show if I just start going at people? Like if I overtly start going at people and taking people down, there's a couple I oh man, I've fantasized about the show in my head a million times. And I'd buy a fucking billboard if I could.
Yeah.
But I can't. I just can't do that.
Yeah, I've definitely got that. They call it shadow boxing. So it's like you're not supposed to shadow box. You're not supposed to like go over imaginary fights in your head. And it really is. Sometimes I get into it and I'll let myself do it for a little bit, and then it's like, all right, I gotta stop shadow boxing.
It's hard not to. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you just get that satisfaction in your head of like, that's definitely how that would go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so real. It's like, yep, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
No,
but these scammers don't care. Here's the thing. Over here, there's a lot of scamming, and it gets personal, where people are getting like their whole life savings. I mean, we're not talking about 15, 30, 50 bucks. We're talking about like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And these guys, they've got these stories of, you know, this person like tricked me, scammed me into buying land and getting my blah, blah, blah. And they want some sort of like reaction from the people that scam them. And the scammers don't care.
No.
We got to realize these people are in somewhere in whatever, you know, country, and they're on a phone or they're in a call center. They like kidnap people to make them work in call centers. So they bring Chinese people here because they can speak Chinese to scam Chinese people in China from Thailand. And it's crazy. These people sometimes, I mean, I'm not saying in our community, but a lot of times the scammers are not, they're maybe even forced to do it, maybe because of financial reasons or whatever nefarious means, whatever reason. But oftentimes in like our community, I think the scammers, they just don't care. They have no conscience. So to attack them and go on the offensive is pointless. You end up getting yourself riled up and like shadow boxing. It's fun, but you got to get to a point where you're like, I got to let this go. Like this is affecting me more than it should, and now it's affecting my mentality and my mental health and my business, and you got to kind of like let it go. And it's hard though sometimes. Yeah, I mean, and I know, you know, a lot of times people will like, I want to go beat that person up, and it's like that's just not gonna help anything at all.
Yeah. Once that scammer got you, like they're moved on to the next. They won't remember your name. They don't care. Like they've moved on, and like, because they've got, you know, a list of scams that they're pulling, and so they've got 50 others that they're talking to that need their time, so they don't have time to worry about you. Meanwhile, you
they got quotas, Howard.
They do. I mean, some of them do. I mean, like Ed's saying, you know, it is like there a lot of these like scammers outside of the community, like they're in call centers, like it's a job for them, it's an industry for them, and so like whenever it's, you know, scamming on that level, like it really is like they do not care about you. They just don't want their boss to come and yell at them, you know, that kind of stuff. So and like on our level, on the smaller scale of things, like the scammer, they just want your money. Like they think that they have some sort of right to what you've got, and because you're spending it on something that they might not agree with, they might not care about it, they think it's okay to do it, and they don't really care about you.
Yeah, it's like stealing a candy bar from Walmart. You know, maybe something fell in our pocket when we were a kid. You know, you're like, it's Walmart. It can absorb it. They're like, well, you know, Booming Acres, they can absorb it. They sell thousands of bags. Meanwhile, they don't really, I mean, I don't know about you, your personal, but you know, meanwhile, it's like, I need money for the electric bill. Like these people,
Yeah.
like the scammers, they tend to look at vendors or other companies as like, these people are rich. They got all the money. Like vending is not a lucrative career, you guys. For anybody out there who thinks you're going to get rich vending.
Pay for the supplies, you
Good
know.
luck.
Yeah. I mean, really, whenever we're like, people are trying to pull something on us, it's like, guys, it comes out of, like, it doesn't come out of the employees' paychecks, but it's like, guys, if everybody's doing well, like, the employees are going to get raises and stuff, and like, we're able to do bonuses and stuff for the holidays and stuff. And so it's like, if we have a bunch of people, you know, just like playing games and taking money from us that we can't afford, it's like, you know, that hurts more than just me. You know, I might be the face of the company, but like, it hurts the little guys too, you know, like everybody's got rent to pay and shit. And so it's like, yeah, it hurts me, but really for every dollar that I make, there's 10 people that work for me. Each one of them makes $1. So like, if I lose $1, that's 10 people that lose $1, you know. It doesn't hurt me as much as it hurts more people, you know. That's what really sucks about it.
Right. But again, go back to Ed's point, they don't care.
Yeah. In the end, they don't care. You know, it's weird with the supply side of things, because it's like the people that are saying that their package didn't show up, it's like, you're gonna grow mushrooms with something that you stole? Like, what are you gonna do with that? You know, like it makes sense when someone is like stealing a laptop or something, you know, from Amazon. They say a laptop didn't show up or something, you know, but it's like, you're really gonna grow mushrooms with a bag that you stole? Like, that's just weird.
Some cursed mushrooms. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, how are you gonna feel, you know, a month down the road when you're trying to have a good time, and it's like, oh, I stole this. Like, that's not
that trip's gonna hit hard.
Yeah, I would hope so. You know, hope for some cosmic justice there. You know.
Yeah.
Exactly. 20 years later, I still remember I borrowed a bike from the front of a convenience store, and I meant to take it back.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It eats at me, and it was like 30 years ago, and it's like, oh.
Yeah,
sorry.
Most of those
people, how you know
sleep.
you're a good person is if you did something not great and you still think about it. You know, whenever it's like, oh man, I probably shouldn't have done that. And it's like,
yeah,
you think about the bike thing. Someone might still think about the bike, but you know, you said something the wrong way to someone at a restaurant or a bar or something one day, and you still think about it 5 years later, and they probably don't even remember it at all.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God. I met up with a high school friend one time in New Orleans, and she here's another super happy story. She got a PhD in like anthropology, some like very niche thing, and she did like 3 jobs for the federal government, like assessing these sites, and they had to move to, you know, assess a bunch of these historic sites. So she made some money for a couple years, and then they got all the sites done, and then just no work. So she's like a fucking bartender. So anyway, she'd been a bartender, lived in a crappy apartment. She's got this PhD, and I'm just like, wow, like, fuck me. But anyway, we're talking, and she starts telling me about some situation in 8th grade in class where she thought that the teacher was being insulting to me because I was trying to make some point, I guess. I had zero recollection of this situation, had no clue. And the way she told the story, it was like she thought like I was going to kill myself one day over the situation or something. Like it weighed on her chest. And I was like, I don't remember that. I mean, I love you for caring that much about me, but yeah, you just never know. Something that is like ruining your day, some of these people likely are not even thinking about it, right? Well, I'll give you an example. This guy we're talking about, the Flowhood guy, he he left a message on one of my videos, and I saw it pop up in the notifications, and I could read like part of it but not all of it. So I went to go read it, and then it wasn't there. And then I saw another comment saying something like, oh, don't you dare fucking erase my comments and da-da-da-da-da. That's what they hate when I guess when you erase their voice or something. But anyway, it's like, what do you think I'm gonna do? Like, but anyway, in the comment that I could see, it made a. He said something to the effect of, "Oh, it's not gonna phase me anyway. I got lots of people." Like it is just what Ed said. You know, they don't care, and they're gonna keep going. They don't care.
I really think technology is like a big part of what's to blame for such a rise in all this. Is like I said, it takes away the humanity of it. If you're face to face with somebody, the chances that you're still gonna do that shit, talk that shit, whatever it may be, it's exponentially lower, right? Like people just don't behave the way they behave online in real life. It's very strange.
Or it's worse. Everything's worse. So maybe they're a crappy person in real life, but then they're gonna be like a super insanely crappy person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? Now I can tell you one thing that a few people have brought up are pictures, right? So Brock brought it up, Howard brought it up. Photos. The power of photos on the internet, right? You don't even gotta grow mushrooms. You just steal some photos. Hi, my name is Ted Grand, and I have a PhD. I live in Thailand, and I do crosses, and follow my Ted Grand YouTube channel. And do you know what I mean? Like, that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Or
don't give them any ideas, man.
Or here it is. Here's my website, Zooming Acres. I sell grain and sub. It's the best quality. I got all my reviews. And, you know, as long as it works, they're going to collect some dough and be happy and move on.
The first time I came on the show, somebody did that like the next day.
I remember that, dude. Yeah.
They made a fake IG
and cloned you.
Yep. Dude, it had like 5,000 followers. I was like, holy shit, I wish. Like, that would be excellent.
I would love what they do. Yeah, they got all the tricks.
Yeah.
But so pictures, right? So we got to talk about pictures and how pictures are used by these scammers. So I think the first time I thought about the power of the photo was when DC Mac in a chat was talking about how it's all about the photo. If you got the right photo, you got everything. The right photo will make you 10 grand. The wrong photo will make you $5. And he, you know, they were bulk growers. They grew a lot of fruit. Wasn't hard to eventually find one good looking fruit or one, you know, phenomenal tub. And it's easy to convince everybody that because you grow 400 tubs or however many tubs they were running, you know, that they're gifted by God with the touch of mushrooms. They you know, they got something special. No one's doing the math going, if I grew 400 tubs, there is bound to be a fucking exceptional mushroom in there I can take a photo of and then tell everybody, buy this culture. It's amazing. And no disrespect to DC Mac. The DC MycoGeeky line is phenomenal. It's one of the special mushrooms you can grow in the community. But he was the one who said the photo. And then the next thing you know, there's another vendor I'm not going to name who must have had a subscription to Adobe, knew how to use Lightroom, because boy, oh boy, his photos got juiced the fuck up. And then another vendor that a lot of people know and like, one of my moderators caught him juicing up photos. And when he was confronted by that person, he was like, oh, it must have been an accident. I must have accidentally left a setting on or something like that. And he had a way of checking. This guy in my Discord was like a graphic designer. So he conclusively proved that the blue hue was like focused on and jacked up.
I think I remember that actually. Yeah, like the dude's hand was like almost blue in the picture.
Yeah. Oh no, it was the grill. It was that the grill was blue, and he's like, if you color correct the grill for the white balance, then it looks like everybody else's mushrooms.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but that was.
I think with the light also, there was like a light that was on, the UVC light was left on accidentally or something.
No, hey, okay, cool. We just will never know. Yeah. Maybe we can blame it on the light. Maybe it's
allegedly.
The light's fault.
Allegedly.
There you go. Allegedly.
What they say.
But for sure, the photos work, right? They get people super, super, super excited. Mm-hmm. You can control the narrative with a photo. You can, Starry Night's a great example. I remember just this one photo of Starry Night that used to go around all the time. And dear God, you'd practically get an erection looking at this photo. It's just the most phenomenal thing you ever saw in your life.
Yeah.
And I never saw another human being on the planet grow anything that looked like it. So I was like,
Got blue lights,
there you
too.
go. It's that. It is the power of a great photo.
Yep.
Right? That's all it takes. And ask anybody that works in New York City shooting magazine covers, right? That's how they sell everything.
Yeah.
Car
Yeah, I mean, when
magazines.
stuff looks cool, stuff looks interesting, that's what
Yeah.
the people want. And so that's definitely, and it's the easiest thing to steal, you know? You don't even have to download the picture. You take a screenshot of the picture on your
Exactly.
browser and yeah, just throw it in Photoshop. You can mirror image it, scale it a little bit, and then it won't even show up in a reverse image search. Like people know how to get around that stuff. And like
Howard, you're fucking teaching all these newbies, the unscrupulous newbies. Now you just
And
taught
take
them some
some
shit.
notes.
sorry, but yeah, I mean, anytime I see something weird, I look into stuff like
Yes.
that, and like I think it's interesting to like try to hunt stuff down like that. And so like
Yeah.
if I do it for like checking if something on Etsy is drop shipping, like if I'm buying a gift, I'll throw it in on a reverse image search, and if it still doesn't show anything, that's the next thing I do is I mirror image it, and a lot of times that'll pop it up. Like
Wow.
they just do like the smallest little edits, and like it just tricks the searches. But you know, maybe they'll get the AI on that part. But yeah, I mean, it's the easiest thing to do, and it really sucks because like a lot of people don't even do the reverse image search, you know.
I do like that. Now, let me tell you this. So to continue on this idea of the photos. Let's say I don't know Ed, and I'm a new grower. I come across Ed, and he's advertising buy one of my crosses. I can ask him for more photos. I could start talking to him.
Yep.
A lot of these photos get like they're zoomed in, they're like the perfect pose, you know, it's like a little centerfold or whatever.
Yeah.
And those are fun. Those are cool. I like those. I'm not mad at those. But if you're working with a new genetics vendor, and you need to vet them, so you need to start asking them for more photographic evidence that proves that they are actually working that cultigen. Feel free to join some Facebook groups or Discords and go, hey, I'm thinking about buying this, and show the photo from this guy. Anybody know about this guy? I personally never in a million years would buy from somebody I couldn't find out about through my friend group. If they didn't know who this guy was, you couldn't pay me to send a random fucking stranger money. Just wouldn't do it. I don't care what the photo looks like.
And your address.
Yeah.
That's something for people to probably like bear in mind as well, that like when you're engaging with these people, you're sending someone your address. Like there are people who I probably sent my address to early on that like, ooh, I probably shouldn't have, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
you know, it's just like, yeah, there's you got to be cautious of that. It's
speaking of that, I forget who I was talking to recently. It was today. I'm trying to think who it was and what it was pertaining to, but somebody was in a situation, and the only way that they ultimately got it rectified was by the fact that they had this guy's name and address.
wow.
And just had to be, and that person just had to be reminded, like, I do have your name and your address, and I have a bunch of screenshots, and are you sure you want to do that? Now, the flip side is, if the guy had thought that through for 2 seconds, he was never going to do it, because he would have implicated himself in what we're doing. And that's another big topic, is a lot of these people keep getting the internal scamming, not the call center scams, the human trafficking scams, the pro, and all that shit is organized crime. That's like real deal organized crime. That's never going to end. But I'm talking about the internal scams, in the varying levels of it. You know, I'm retiring from Mycology. All my shit's for sale this month. 50% off, and they do that, and then now, nope, I'm not leaving Mycology. I'm back. Oh, you're like
Whole
them rug
mattress
stores.
going out of business sale.
Yeah.
Most
Oh,
most of the time they don't even address it that I've seen. There's never like an I'm back. They just never leave. It's just
the guy I'm thinking about did he did a whole thing. It was like, my heart's not in this anymore. I'm called to another thing. I have a business opportunity. Obviously that went south, but it was a whole thing. And I remember saying to one of my friends, he ain't going anywhere. Just you watch. He's sticking around. I see through this guy. And sure, it was long and drawn out, and it was down to, I got one pen to sell. Who I'm going to auction off my last pen, my last empty syringe. It is still in the sterile wrapper, guys. Let the auction begin at 50 cents. 50 cents, so I guess 60 cents. I mean, it was so drawn out. I was like, this is total shit. And sure enough, it was literally today or yesterday, where it's like, I'm a story post. I'm back. We're getting played all the time by everybody. Watch out. I had a very, very disappointing situation happen this week. Somebody that I thought was just going to be a friend to the end, someone I deeply cared about, truly cared about, blew up at me, told me I have been using him from day one. I just... at this point in this community, I am just cherishing the natural states and the Eds and the Brocks and the Howards, and the people just seem to be consistently solid people. And I support those people, and I'm here for those people, and I show up for those people, because if this labile, like, 1 minute you're cool, 1 minute you're next, if that's all I'm engaging with, I'm out of here. Like, I'm only going to be able to take that for just so long, right? I got to have a core group of people that are trustworthy, care about me, I can actually talk to. That is what we should be looking for, and protect those people, and then that core group can build, and then we attract the right people with that, right? That's super important. Otherwise, they will take over. It really is that whole Star Wars good versus evil. The dark side's going to win. The fucking Bible, Satan versus God crap. There is a reason all these stories exist. Because it's kind of true. It really is that the nature of good in mankind and the nature of evil in man, or bad. I don't even like the word evil really, but like, positive, negative, however you want to look at it. That battle's going on all the time. It is definitely going on in this community. So the more positive, the more kind, compassionate, caring, positive, helpful, nurturing, healing, supportive that we can be to anybody in this community who isn't taking advantage of us, the better. Is my
well
take.
said.
So what else? Anything anybody in the chat wants to talk about? Any other strategies, concepts? What can we do? I'd love.
I just think at the same time we don't want to make people paranoid. Also, I know that like a little bit when somebody gets scammed, maybe once or twice, they sort of develop this very sort of defensive and then almost offensive attitude where like this person is going to scam me. And I notice I sometimes get that from my customers. I just sell like swabs, but a lot of times people just assume you're going to scam them. And sometimes they come off like, this is something both on the customer, I think, and vendor side. Like sometimes you'll get an email or whatever through the website or whatever, or even a private message, and people they come off a bit abrasive at first, and I have to sometimes I'll just look at the message and read it and come back maybe an hour later and be like, okay, let me think about where this person is coming from.
Right.
My egger. And it's like maybe they're having a bad day too, and maybe if you're having a bad day, sometimes you get in this inadvertent like adversarial kind of relationship, and it's really like I got to remember to like not do that, because I've been scammed, and I don't know, maybe people think I'm scamming them, and they I don't know. It's just like some people they have like a bad attitude, like maybe
Yeah.
it's kind of almost turns into like a road rage incident where it's like
Yeah.
somebody pulled out in front of you, and next thing you know, somebody's pulling out a fucking Glock and getting
Yeah.
shot. And it's
Yeah,
like,
that's
really,
it.
because you pulled out in front of me, somebody's life ended. And it's
Yeah,
like
we'll have people send us an email, and it's like they'll send an email like Friday at like 9 p.m. and then I don't respond until Monday at like 9 a.m. and I'll have 18 emails from
Yeah.
them, and they're like, "You're scamming me. Where's my package? You're ripping me off." And it's like, no, we're a business. We're open 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Like, I'm sorry.
The life. Yeah.
It's obvious we're not scamming you because we're not replying, because we're a business and we have normal business hours. Like, I'm sorry I didn't reply to you at 9 a.m. or 9 at night on a Friday, but
Yeah.
and then most of the time, once you explain that to people, like, nah, we're a business. Like for you, Ed, and you, it's like, no, like I have an LLC. Like, you paid with a credit card. Like, this is legitimate. And like, here's your tracking number. And 9 times out of 10, they'll respond like, "I'm sorry, I was just worried. I was freaking out. I didn't want to get scammed. I've heard about scams online." Or they just don't say anything. That's the other 1% of people. They just don't say it. They're embarrassed, and so they're like, "Oops," and then you don't hear anything. But yeah, I think it is important to like realize that like scams are the rarity. They're not. It's not happening more often than not. It's the, what do they say?
It's a rite of
the
passage.
exception to the rule.
Yeah, it's the exception to the rule. For the most part, a lot of these vendors, especially like once you get to like a decent enough size, like a lot of the vendors are legitimate businesses. Like they do try to run things above board. Most people figure out by a certain age, like you're better off like just doing things legitimately, and you don't worry about trouble. You don't have issues with losing customers. If you do things on the up and up, you're better off.
If you get high level in like business strategy and training sales forces and stuff like that, there is overwhelming evidence that conclusively proves that it is like 4 to 5 times more expensive to generate a new customer than it is to keep a current customer.
Yep. Yeah.
You should be cherishing every customer you have. And I'll give you an example. My buddy, Happy Hyphae, this is a nice guy. He writes a letter to people when they buy something from him, because most of these people, he has some sort of a relationship with them. And so he like writes them a letter, like old school letter, right? I have had 3 people now out of the blue message me saying, "Hey dude, your buddy Happy, holy shit." One guy framed the fucking letter. Was like, "It's the greatest thing anyone has ever done for me in this community." And what he said, I'll hold on to forever. I can say I received some letters like that from Mushman 9000. Same thing, like just was very touching, really meant a lot. Yeah, that's where it's at, right? And I mean, I can't. I would love to. I'm a fucking loser. I print out my thank you very much cards, on a label and have to put it in there. I am giving people free shit though. So, I mean, I am doing something. I don't feel like a totally horrible person. But that's just that next level of connection, which we all have the opportunity to think about. How can we do that? And it doesn't have to be a letter. It can just be like actually talking to people and actually supporting the products that you sell, and not being like, do you know, I am getting so sick of hearing about very established vendors when asked about, well, how do you grow this that you just sold me? How do you grow that you just sold me? And they just got no time for any questions. And it's like, bro, how do you think that's the right play? I just don't get it. Hold on. I want to pull up 2 things. So John Workman, he is the founder of the SPORES. If you look up Cube Spores, I think he's at the top of the list. He's been doing it the longest. He's been around forever. He did a little thing, which is bring apes to this community. So he's kind of a big deal. He's definitely historically significant in the space. He's been doing it longer than anybody on the show right now, I can tell you that. And he just said the 2 scams he sees the most often. He says, mostly I see the ones that don't start off as scams, but the people get overwhelmed and the business fails.
Yeah.
And because you're doing business with not a business, like Howard was kind of pointing out, like, you know, these people that are buying their genetics from not businesses, and they've gotten burned a bunch of times. And then you got Howard here running a real business. He's got an actual storefront. He's got employees. He pays insurance on them. He cuts their checks every week. And the guy is losing his mind because Howard didn't respond to him at 9 p.m. on a Friday. Right? Now, I can tell you that I have an example of that. I was in a server for a while. Lots of people are going to know who I'm talking about, not trying to throw anybody under the bus. But they were moving a lot of plate cultures. They were based out of Canada, moving a lot of plate cultures. Well, unbeknownst to them, Chicago Customs had gotten an influx of $3 million, and they beefed up customs. They had a lot of new technology to scan things, and they were looking for mostly bootleg, high-end clothing and purses and shoes and stuff like that from China. Like a lot of bootleg shit, I guess, was coming in from China. So Chicago Customs got this beefed up surveillance, security, X-rays, whatever they did. And all of a sudden, so these guys had run 2 sales back to back over like the course of 2.5 weeks. Generated a shit ton of sales. And all of a sudden, like 50 of their packages got seized at Chicago Customs and were being held. Everybody started getting notices. They're being held. And they're like, this sucks. They only took PayPal and crypto. And usually most people at this time was only doing PayPal. So the packages are sitting there. They're like, what's going on? I'm not going to get into too much details, but there was a scare because somebody in the server who, besides growing mushrooms, also happened to sell a bunch of hard drugs and was selling them to teenagers at the local high school. They were able to bust that guy because Chicago Customs notified the local law enforcement in his area. They had been trying to have an excuse to go search this guy's house for a while. They used the seized package as the justification for the warrant. He got arrested, and I guess he had sent a message to a couple people that I was pretty close to, including one of the guys that ran the server, and was basically like, everybody, they're coming for everybody. Like, because he got busted, he thought that, and because he knew the reason was because of that package, and the guys had been talking about that they're just all these packages sitting at customs. So he thought all those people with seized packages were about to get busted. The owners of the server freaked out. And I want to believe that this is true, just to protect everybody. They literally closed that server down entirely. And a lot of people labeled that an exit scam. I will say this, those people have returned to the community. They do not seem to want to reimburse anybody for their money. That's too bad. They still got an opportunity to do the right thing. We'll see if that ever happens. But I am almost positive that there's no way those guys shut their server down on purpose. It was not a planned out thing. It was not a scam. It was not an exit scam. They were making way too much money selling their genetics on that server. There would be literally no reason to run an exit scam. It just doesn't make any sense. So there's people out there that love to spread this message. They love to tell you I'm involved. I never even got a free plate culture from these guys. I had to pay for my plate cultures. So, yeah. And I mean, I have a job. I have a ranch house. My wife works. I can pay my rent or my mortgage every month. Like, I have no fucking reason to be a part of any of that shit. So anybody that tries to tell you that that's who I am, don't trust that person. That person is got ulterior motives for trying to tear me apart. And there's a couple of them, but anyway, they have a very small following, so it's not that big of a deal. Anyway, and I think Howard knows who I'm talking about. I think he knows all the people I'm talking about, but and he can probably chime in on that. But yeah, so that was that situation, right? They got themselves caught in a bad spot. They made a decision. At the end of the day, nobody, it was only that guy who was selling oxys to kids, who ultimately, went to prison. But then what happened was they had all their money in their PayPal. They were not meticulous about dumping their money out of their PayPal. PayPal seized all the money because people started saying, hey, we got taken, and they started trying to reverse the charges. So they were reversing a bunch of charges, and they had to reverse more charges than they had money in their PayPal. So they lost their PayPal permanently, and I guess they did a whole investigation on it. And basically, those two are never going to have like an online banking account ever again in their lives. So they didn't even have a way to get money back to people. I mean, I don't know if they're going to fucking write checks to people or send them $100 bills. But like they didn't even have a way at that point to pay people back. So that perfectly models what John's talking about, which is they just screwed up. Just screwed up, got overwhelmed, screwed up, and didn't know how to handle it. And then the other thing he said, or they make too much money early on, and then they feed their vices and lose control of business.
A lot of ex-addicts or even still active addicts in the community that I've noticed.
A lot of people get off hard drugs with mushrooms.
Yeah, 2 years.
Then they start making a shit ton of money with the mushrooms. And then what are you going to do with all that money? Go buy some more hard drugs again. There's a bunch of people actively doing that. I can think of two very well-known people in the community right now who I've been burned by. One of them, I supported and wanted to like the other one. But just as time went on, found out too many things about that person. Anyway, so that happens. John's on point. He's seen all this. It's like when Ed says, you guys don't get the fad that's happening right now. That happened 10 years ago. It also happened 20 years ago. This shit's been going on for a while. Growing cubes has not been the last 7 years.
No doubt.
Oh, I feel so old, man. I feel so old.
Oh, man, trust me, I do too. Every day I wake up, I'm like, I think I need to take a Tylenol this morning just to wake the fuck up and start moving my body around. God damn.
Getting in the cold weather, like my
joints
starting to get where I'm like, that's not good. Too early.
I got a rod in my left tibia, so when the weather gets real cold, it literally like it causes me ankle like swelling, and it's weird.
Ugh.
Now Ed'll over here go, well, no, your body is maintaining its metabolism at 98.6 degrees, and no, trust me, I don't know what it's doing, but I literally feel it in that rod.
Nah, every morning I get up, it's like 65 here, and it's like I'm like feeling my knees and my shoulder and all those broken ribs I did like 5 years ago.
10 degrees outside this morning.
I know, dude. That's why I live here. I can't deal with that shit at all. I'm freezing my ass off.
It's freezing right now.
Yeah. See, you're Howard. You're real close to where Ed and I grew up. We're Western Michigan. So we know all about that Chicago wind and that lakefront weather.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good times.
Yeah.
We were just telling stories.
Huh?
Ooh.
What did you say?
We were just telling stories last night about falling through the ice. And like everybody's like, what the hell are you talking about? You come from a place where there's ice on lakes. It's like, I almost died like 4 times. Yeah. People over here don't know about like ice on lakes. It like
you know at like Target the sign that says like it's been 83 days since a work-related injury. In my town, there was so much ice fishing that there wasn't, but it was like it was a running tally of like how many people fall through the ice every winter. Yeah.
Yeah, last year we we had the autoclaves. We had 5 autoclaves, and we had them over in like the production area where everybody was like bagging stuff. And so it would get hot in the winter. It would still get up to like 80 degrees in the building. So we never ran the heat in the winter last year. And then over the summer, we knocked down another wall at the facility, and we had these electricians come out, and we moved all the autoclaves into like their own area now. And so it's kind of out of the way, and then everybody only goes over there and goes into that room to load and unload the claves. And so now all the heat's contained. And so like we come into work on Monday, and it's like 63 degrees in the facility. Yep. It gets like cold in there now. And so like we actually had to turn on the heat this year.
Damn. Now you got me thinking, when my furnace goes out, I'm going to convince my wife to let me buy a big fancy like 200-liter autoclave and stuff.
Yeah, there you go, man. Dude, they keep it hot in the summer. It's like we've got a like one of those massive AC units on top of the building, because we're in like a big industrial building, and that thing can't keep up with where the claves used to be. It couldn't keep up. It would be like 75 to 80 even with the AC running all day.
Man.
Wow.
Yeah, those things kick out a lot of heat, but that's because we had 5 of them, But hopefully this year, we're hoping that having the electricians come out and move them will save us a lot of money on the AC and actually keep everybody cool, because it was getting brutal.
Luxury problems, Howard. Luxury
Yeah.
problems. You're sitting here going, well, my
having
5 autoclaves
Yeah,
heating
we got
my
6
entire...
now, actually. But yeah, let me tell you about the issues of running 650-liter autoclaves.
Oh, yeah.
You can watch the power meter just go.
Oh, bro. The dollar's just racking up by the second. Yes.
Do autoclaves put off humidity? There's moisture. No.
So we've got them. They have like an exhaust port, and so we have them. They vent to the outside. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering.
We had to deal with that because the ventilation lines were starting to freeze because they get a little bit of moisture in them, and then the moisture blocks it, and so the cold was getting in. So yeah, we had to deal with that too. But yeah, they all the humidity vents out. Luckily, otherwise that would be like really brutal.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. All the grain produces a lot of humidity though, so that's always fun. But
it's true.
Yeah.
And that lovely aroma.
Yeah. Some of the grain smells good. Some of our neighbors don't like it, but
some not so much. Yeah.
It's a lot of people think that like you just jump into this and like start producing, hundreds or thousands of pounds of grain every day, and it's like, nah, there's like weird scaling issues that you wouldn't think about, like dealing with a lot of humidity and like the smell of everything. Like there's just these weird little nuances that you got to figure out for, scaling up and processing that much.
Yeah, I would imagine.
It's like, right, you figure out how to juggle 3 balls, and you're like, look, I'm a juggler. And then somebody says, oh, cool, juggle 20 balls.
Yeah. I kind of like it, though. I like problem solving, I like that my job is like different every day and that I get to solve these cool problems. Like it is like I'll be working on something and sometimes I get frustrated, and then it's like, wait, I'm like doing something really cool that like not many people get to work on. Like it's kind of cool, every day. It's like I even on like my worst days, like especially if I compare it to my old job, it's like, oh, this is actually okay. This is okay. The days that get worrisome, like I get like anxiety and stuff, like dealing with like money or like some customers and stuff. But like for the most part, it's like, this is a pretty awesome job.
That's cool, man.
Okay. This reminds me of back in the day when we had 20 weed plants and 2 metal halides, 1,000-watt metal halides in the basement. And people used to walk over the floor and be like, why is the floor warm?
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the winter. And then it was like the electric bill jumped up like $400 one month. It was a co-op in Ann Arbor. There were 40 people. And luckily I paid the electric bill. So I was like, yeah, somebody must be running like one of the bunch of those like face heater kind of things. And it's like unethical, but they were going to profit from it. When the crop came in, nobody was complaining. But
yeah, exactly.
Like weird things, like how do we explain that the floor is warm in the middle of February? Like I don't know. I don't know, man. Or icicles on the outside of the building at weird places in that warm room that's like 85 in the winter.
Yeah.
Like,
There's snow on all the neighbors' houses, but yours is
yeah,
clear.
yeah, exactly. That's back in the day.
Yeah.
Electric companies wondering that's, peak in your electric bill.
I remember doing that. Yeah, having to like plan out like, okay, so we got to run the lights at night so that the AC usage is like even throughout everything, so there's no power spike. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah,
The paranoia.
We decided how many plants to grow based on the laws. So like we always kept it, I think it was like 39, because at 40 you get 15 years, but under 40 you only get like 7 or something like that. So that's how we decided how many to run.
That was your risk tolerance. You're like 7 years in prison, cool.
Yeah, it's like, well,
yeah.
worth it, but then the 15, nah, it's not worth it. And then it did the bracket's like 40 to 100, and it's like, well, we're not going to grow 100.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I used to run my pressure cooker, my All-American, in that co-op at like 4 a.m. because like I live with 40 people and be like, yeah, I'm making beans for chili.
Oh god!
And they bought it for a few months, and then it was like, why does it have all these like product all of a sudden?
There's never any beans.
yeah, exactly. Where's all this chili it's making?
Hey, Ed,
and why does he all of a sudden?
Can we
I
borrow
don't got
some
beans, but I got
don't
this.
have beans.
It's a lot better than beans.
Oh my god!
Just keep your mouth shut, and there'll be more beans on the way.
Man.
Yeah, I still hold on to my All-Americans. I've got 2 941s, and like, we've got 650 liter autoclave. I just still can't bring myself to get rid of them.
Yeah, because you paid
They're
too
so
much
cute.
for them.
Yeah, I mean, I got those All-Americans. I got them, COVID times. It was like $1,000 each back then. Like they were pretty high.
Oh
God.
Dang.
My first 941, I think, was like maybe $180, but this was like 25 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I think it was like $180. When I checked the prices, I was like, "What the fuck?" I thought I was misreading. I think those 75Xs now are like $2,000.
Yeah, those things are crazy. Fuck? Yeah. One of these days, maybe I'll do a giveaway once I'm like, all right, I'm never gonna restart the business from the All-Americans. I think that's always in my head. Like, if everything goes like straight to shit, I'm busting out the mason jars again in the All-Americans.
That's a good. It's good in any business model to have that
have like the super backup plan.
Got you. Yeah, it's pretty crucial. Yeah.
The old PF Tech cakes.
Oh man,
a tent full of PF Tech cakes.
I just don't want to listen to the rocker ever again. The All-Americans are like startling the first time that it goes off, and it's like it goes nuts. At least with the Prestos, it's like a gentle rock to start it off.
Yeah. Okay, so my neighbors right now are probably hearing that, and I'm thinking like, oh shit, like what? No, I've been here for a couple of years. I haven't said anything, but yeah, you got to like make sure you don't turn it up. 3 a.m. it goes off, and that's what must be nice having a dedicated facility. You don't kind of got to deal with that kind of stuff.
Right? We don't really have neighbors. Like we have one neighbor, and they house, and we've got like thick floors and everything. They can never hear us. Like the guys like blast music all day, and like they've never said anything about the sound. They complained about the smells, but we had to put in like ventilation systems to take care of that, the humidity, but other than that, they've never complained. We never really talked to them. So,
hey, if you got good neighbors, man, that's like winning the fucking lottery.
Yeah, I mean, they complained a lot though when we were having things smell. So I wouldn't say they're good neighbors, but
okay.
Yeah, our landlord, he's awesome. He's like a super chill guy from Wisconsin and like super friendly. He's like, he definitely is like a dad, like he just has that vibe, and like him and I just like hit it off, and like he'll come by and like chit chat and stuff, and like he's always interested in like all the mushroom stuff and like asking questions, and he's always like, he's probably told me about this mushroom vendor up in Wisconsin. He's got like a roadside stand. He's probably told me about him like 20 times. Every time he comes by, he's like, there's a guy in Wisconsin who sells mushrooms. I'm like, yeah, you told me. Like he's so nice and friendly. Like, yeah,
that's the thing. That's his story. That's how he connects with you.
Yeah, and like he's awesome. He's a really, I've never rented out a facility for a business. Like I've never had to rent out something for a business, and so having like a really cool landlord who like lets us knock down walls and like add on all this power equipment and stuff. Like getting that our first go was like super lucky.
Yeah, I mean, it is always cool to. I feel like in commercial spaces, because I dealt with this with wood shops. If you want to make capital improvements in a commercial space, they usually say yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
If
I mean, for us,
if you're improving the situation for them, then never gonna say no to that.
Yeah. For us, we started. It was like 1,500 square feet, and then we knocked down a wall, and we were at 5,000 square feet, and then when we knocked down that first wall, they put up another wall to divide the area that we took over. And then a few months later, I'm like, I want that area too. Yeah. And so they knocked down a little bit more of the wall and put in a door. And then I was like, yeah, this room that's in this other area, I want to cut a hole in the wall and put all these filters in the wall. And he just keeps letting us do it. He's like, yeah, just keep doing it. Of
course. He's like, oh, you want to rent all my space?
You're like, I'll let you knock down as many walls as you want until we reach the outside.
Yeah, I've never had to like say anything about it because I think that he knows, but like we've been there for 2 years now and no one's moved in. And like it's us, the doctor's upstairs, and then his sons, they're across the hallway. They own a seal coating business. And no one else has moved in. It's been empty other than that. So like over half the building is still empty.
Wow.
Yeah. So eventually, we'll take over the rest of it.
There you go.
There you go. Yes. Get a couple more states, once all your Chicago people are really getting hardcore into mushrooms, then you can open up a shop on the end and you'll be set.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Yeah, start franchising.
Yes. There you go. That's the big picture, is the franchise. Then you do no work. You just sell your name. That's how you do it. All right, guys. Well, I think this was good. It's going to be a continuation and ongoing discussion. This just I wanted to formally, specifically do an episode about this. If anybody watching got motivated to want to share more stories with me, feel free. I definitely will be looking into the overwhelming feedback so far but we want to know the names. So, maybe somebody wants to start a Discord. Maybe somebody wants to come up with a way that information, current up-to-date information can be shared. But I sort of feel like at the end of the day, it's that new guy, right? It's not the people in the community. It's the new person. It's the chick who just watched, something on Netflix, or the guy who just read Michael Pollan's book, and then they just Google something, and it's either they get pushed in a good direction or they get pushed in a bad direction. And so I don't even know if, creating a list does really any good. But if anybody who heard any of these stories wants to know more, has questions, you can reach out to me. If any of the stories Natural State told, or Howard told, or Brock told, you can reach out to these guys, and maybe they'll give you more perspective or more information. But obviously on the show, in the spirit of being kind and reasonable to all people, regardless of what they've done to other people, I'm just never going to be using this platform to just call people out and stuff like that. So got to figure it out another way. Hang out. Don't worry. You'll figure these people out sooner or later, because some of these notorious people, they just can't change. This is who they are. So.
Well, and as somebody pointed out, they can't, I think Howard said it, they can only do that for so long, right? If they're actually selling dirty stuff, it's going to catch up pretty quick. Like it's a very short-term mindset to have.
Man, I don't know though.
It's shocking.
I'm not going to name names, but I know big companies that every week, minimum once a week, I get, I bought something from this place, and aren't they supposed to be the best? And why was all my... Howard knows exactly who I'm talking about, I bet.
Yeah,
you know, you got those people, and then there are also some notorious shysters in the community who they're smooth. They're real smooth. Most of the guys within the community that grift, they're little like pseudo cult leaders, man, they're slick with it. They know your weakness. They know what you want to hear, and they tell you what you want to hear. And you know, if something real bad happens and they get outed, they just go away for like 6 months, and then they come back and it's all over again.
Yep.
This one guy, I was just talking to somebody who's been around there, like, oh, he's done this like 8 times. He's never gonna go away. He's gonna have to die. Luckily, he's old. He probably will one of these days. But yeah. So some of these people are relentless, like Ed said, right? If they're career criminals or if they're career con men, they are perfecting their craft. Con men, unless they're in jail, they just get better and better at it the more practice they get.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
And they go to jail to get better and learn from other people.
And they do get better, usually get better in prison. Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Like if I ever want to be a cook, you know, it's like I've heard that's the best place to learn, you know, cooking in prison. It's like, hey.
Yeah,
I'd ever do that.
I lived with a guy for a while who did 2 stints for selling coke, and he had reformed his life completely after the second stint. But he said after the first time I went in, he goes, I was twice the gangster than when I went in the first time. He's like, absolutely. I came out, and he goes, I came out after the first time, and I was flipping keys, and I was the hot shit in my town. Like, I was the guy. And I went in the second time, and this is in Michigan, and he's like, all the old heads started telling me, like, it's 3 strikes and you're out here, you know, young blood. You better get your act together, because we're here for life now. You want to be here for the rest of your life? And so he got his shit together. I met him at a community college in Ann Arbor. And he was into music production, so he was real keen to, you know, be friends and learn from me and figure out what we were up to. And he got a job. Somebody used to sell weed to, got him a job, and he climbed through the ranks. And this is U of M catering, Ed. You know, all the catering events on campus. And then the chick that helped him get the job, she got promoted like somewhere else. I forget where she went. She was nowhere near him anymore. The new boss came in. I don't know if it was racism or a vibe or what, but she went through and started running background checks on a bunch of people and had him out of there in no time. And the next thing you know, he's back to selling weed. And talked to his cousin about 3 years ago, and I was like, hey man, I haven't talked to Mark in a while. How's he doing? He's done. He's back in. He's in for life. Man. 3 strikes and you're out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice how they have the legal system based off of baseball, right? Like, that's pretty cool.
Legal system, but no one gets to hit a home run except for O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, it's such a strange thing. Like,
it is.
You guys know that thing, that baseball, we're going to have our legal system that, you know, people's lives are based on. Like, that seems like a good rule.
Yeah, I mean, they might as well just really call it, you know, by the 3rd time we have lost all faith in you, and we just, there's no rehabilitation anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that the whole point of incarceration is rehabilitation and, like, being productive to society, but they're like, nah, we're just going to keep you in a cage now. Like, that's
you shitty food and make you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, like, that's what else would be the point? Like, why? Come on.
Yeah. All right. I might have to steal. John Workman just gave me an idea. I might have to steal this idea. This might be like the most popular episode of the MycoGeeky Podcast. Here we go. So if anybody's
I've 100% thought about the same exact thing. I swear, I've sat and thought about it.
So guys, if anybody's got a friend in prison and you want to have some fun, let's do it. I will get a spore print in there.
I figure probably the easiest thing to do would be doing like cardboard agar and then just keep it in a sandwich bag and you'll get pins, right? Like,
okay. I'm gonna keister 2 LCs.
No, that's the move.
We all know it's about LCs now, man. Nobody wants spore prints. Where are you gonna get anger from?
Everybody wants
LC, yeah.
I'm gonna keister like a 50cc LC, man.
Oh, there we go.
I'm just saying.
Wow. Speaking of that, Ed, you did good. You did good.
No,
3 hours and 18 minutes before we talked about trannies or boofing or yes. Ed's gonna do a YouTube short of him inoculating grain bags in vitro.
Rectal.
Rectal in rectum.
No, dude, I've thought about it here. If I went in here, I would, number one, I would learn to speak Thai really well. I'd teach all those dudes English, how to grow mushrooms, do a bunch of, like, they don't want me in that prison.
You would be resourceful.
Like, yeah.
If I still worked in Hollywood, I would pitch you as like Shawshank Redemption Part 2, like Shawshank Redemption, but it's a PhD mycologist goes to prison and teaches everybody to grow mushrooms.
Exactly.
Yes, that would be hilarious.
The slogan could be, they may not be freed, but they're freed mentally.
There you go. Hey, do you want out, but not really out yet?
They weren't free, but they were free.
There you go. That's it. That's way better.
Oh my gosh, too funny. I had somebody the other day say something to me. He said, he goes, so, back in the day, I was in a group and we sort of had this mentality that for new growers, like he said, there was LC around, people would use it for certain very specific reasons. But he said, we always forced a new grower. We would only sell them swabs or a print because it forced them to do the work. It forced them to germinate spores, right? So like Brock and James just did that grow along that didn't go exactly perfectly. But it wasn't with liquid cultures, and it wasn't with a plate culture. It was with spores. So now that can also be a hot mess and a lot more work. And I think you might even have to like limit how many people you're going to put in that. Cause there's a lot more to that. Having done a few of them, you can hope big, but they end up going however they're going to go. But when he said that, I thought, God, yeah, not only is that a good idea, but dear God, the LC, the flood of LC now is just on it was like another way that I realized it was just ruining the community. Because I'm sitting here going, oh, LC in an all-in-one bag is a great way to start. And it is. And it is great for people who don't really want to get into cultivation. But I'm sitting here going, but there's a lot of guys, they're never going to come off that. They're just going to stay there. And I mean, that's okay as long as they're getting really good LC and they're growing great mushrooms and all that kind of stuff. But from like a cultivator perspective, if you never move past that, but you sort of stay in the hobby in limbo in that spot, you're not evolving as a cultivator. So when he said that, I was like, I never even thought about that as like a beneficial kind of way to gatekeep, right? Like you're going, okay, you're new. This is your rite of passage. You're getting a swab. You're going to learn how to do this. It's like watching Survivor. If the world comes to an end and all we have are a bunch of guys that have been buying liquid culture and grow bags and they don't know how to do anything, I mean, obviously, I'm not waiting for a zombie apocalypse, but you know my point. Like, we should definitely be building in some programming that talks about like evolving as a cultivator and all that. Also, just the price of everything. I mean, in a year, liquid culture is going to be like $3. They're going to start.
I mean, when I started off, liquid culture didn't exist, so that's how I had to start growing. Was people sent me spore prints on foil, and then it was like, well, I can't do agar because I don't know how to do that. Yeah. So just threw it in grain and hope for the best.
Yeah, I was just telling you, Howard, in the private chat, my very first grow attempts at grows, some of them made it, some of them didn't, but it was because I shot MSS straight to some all-in-one bags. And like the ones that didn't make it, it wasn't because of the all-in-one bags that I got from you. They lasted like 3 months. It just never germed. Nothing ever.
Yeah.
The MSS wasn't working or something. But yeah, 2 of them worked great. And I mean, yeah, terrible method, but you know, it when you do it the wrong way, it helps you learn to do it the right way a lot of the time.
Yeah. I mean, spores can be fairly clean.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, back whenever I did scrape spore prints off of foil into grain, like I very rarely had problems doing that. And like I did that. That was like the main way that I would do things. And then doing like grain to grain transfers. But other than that, it was like always just with the spore print. Like I didn't want to mess around with needles and syringes and stuff. And I was just trading with people on Topia or Shroomery. And so it literally was just like little foil in the mail and show up, scrape it on, and like it would work fine. I think a lot of the time, like the people that are making, you know, multi-spore syringes, like they run into trouble because like they're not going to autoclave their beakers with the water in it. They're going to pour distilled water in a beaker and hope that it stayed clean or something. Like they're skipping a step somewhere, and then it's getting contamination in it. Like there's got to be something going on, or you know, they're just like growing in dirty tubs and just like, well, it's spores, they're not going to be clean, right? Like they're just relying on that rather than doing it clean. Like you can make clean spores. Like,
you gotta love that excuse. Like I send almost all my T0 plates, like almost all of them I send. Not all of them make it. Some of them on grain don't quite make it.
Well, they're not pretty. They're not. They're the weird cousin.
They've got everything in there. Yeah.
As long as they don't have colors, though. Like you were saying about the sending the albino swabs with the no spores on them. Dude, I'm like so OCD. Like if I make 10 swabs, I check one of them under the scope and I also put it on a plate. I just can't. I don't ever want to make that mistake.
It was horrifying.
I've seen so many pictures of people, they post up swabs and like they're just like straight blue, and it's like, what are you, like, you're not selling spores, like that's just like a lollipop with fucking psilocybin. Like that's not a good sign, really. You just want to brush it and get some spores. You don't want to like crank on there.
I've beat this point to death in some of my videos.
I don't think
like if you see us
to death, but yes.
These swabs that are like dark blue, I'm like, that's the first sign that somebody didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah, and
like even with albinos.
Those are the ones that are for sure going to contaminate because they're super wet, and then they've got like, you know, gills all over them. So it's like that's not doing anybody any good.
Yeah. If you pull them out of the package and they're stuck to the plastic, that's not a good sign. Like,
at best, you're going to get a clone, but I think that's what some of those vendors, I think Geeky, you and I have talked about this before. Yeah. Some vendors, I think actually that's their method. Is like,
and I mean, well, you also got to think about the buyer. A lot of people wouldn't know the difference. They don't care if they see rhizomorphic growth off a germ plate. They're just like, woohoo,
they're like,
awesome. And it's also sort of like a hack to send, instead of sending a plate, instead of sending a microcentrifuge tube, it's technically a legal thing, right? It's just spores. But if it's got a little tissue on it, like it is sort of a hack to get a clone of something.
I mean, if you're scraping and it's turning blue, like if it's got blue on it, that's, you know,
you got tissue in there for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of people, there's these testing centers. And so according to some vendors that I've talked to, they're like, yeah, we send in the tissue to these testing centers. And it's like, dude, I don't think the testing centers have the same equipment that the DEA has. The DEA's equipment, like if it has like a tiny amount, like a couple molecules of psilocybin, it's going to come up positive. So like, how confident are you that that testing center has as good of equipment as the DEA? Because if something gets into their hands and they test it, and like, they're not going to just like test it right away. It's going to sit for like a month or two before the DEA tests it. So it's like, yeah, you're probably, you know, towing the line on maturity of the sample and everything when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I mean, what are you doing though? I mean, I know the things the DEA does, and you do not have me convinced that they've ever taken like a really gooey swab and
I don't know about
their mass spec or anything, but I do hear your point about like, yes, spores are legal, but a whole bunch of tissue could theoretically get you in trouble. I'm more concerned about, like, if I want spores, when I order a swab set from some, that's why I always ask for prints anyway. Not just because I'm greedy and there's way more spores there, but because it just proves something. I don't know what the fuck a swab is. I know there's spores on it, but I see the print. I see the size of the cap. I it just, I don't know. It just feels a little more authentic for me.
And, if you're getting spores, someone grew the mushroom out. Like they've actually tested the genetics.
That's sort of the vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, obviously, not everything will make that, but if I can get it, I'll get it. But if I'm trying to isolate monokaryons so that I can sell them one day, or do a cross, or whatever I'm doing with it, and I get a junky ass swab that's got nothing but tissue all over it, right? That's just not what I ordered. It's just not right.
Yeah.
What if I get half a spore print? Somebody was joking the other day about how they ordered a spore print and like somebody had cut it in half.
One of our employees brought something like that. I swear they brought like a pan or something, and it was half of a spore print. It's like, you're saving a fucking half of a spore print. How greedy can you get?
Bro, I ordered a spore print from somebody. Now, overall, I was super happy with this, but just randomly, one of the things I ordered, it was a quarter of a spore print. A quarter of one, and I'm like, then the listing should say quarter of a spore print.
Some spores include
tiny amount of spores. Yeah.
Well, that's somebody who buys one print and is like, I can sell this to 3 people. I can still get my genetics and resell it to 3 people. Because if you were growing pans, you're not at a loss for spore prints. Like if you're growing pans or any other thing.
If you cut a pan spore print in half, the caps are not exactly that. That's like a half a fucking dime.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever used an entire spore print.
No,
you never do. Yeah,
just tiny little swipes on it. That's it.
Yeah, I take a dental pick and I just scrape a little bit in and shut it back up. Still have a couple thousand more scrapes.
Ed had a video where it was like he had the print and he just like rubbed it real lightly and he shows it to the camera and it's just like it just looks like a complete spore print still. And he's like, I forget what you said. You're like, I'm never gonna use all this. Like,
there's thousands and thousands of spores.
Oh
no,
that's like 100,000 spores. I've done the hemocytometer thing. That's like 100,000 spores.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
You need 2 technically, so you got so much there. Yeah, and like if I'm doing agar work with spore, it's like you just take your tool, you tap it on the agar, get a little bit wet, tap it on the spore, and then you put it back and you're done. Yes. Like, exactly. less is more. But
you don't risk touching any stuff that you're not touching a bunch of areas of the print. You're just touching one tiny area.
You almost want to do like the arm's length test. Like at arm's length, you should barely be able to see that there's spores on the end of the swab. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what the distance is, but there is definitely a point where, and I also find this for if you do grab and drag or any streaking or anything like that. If I have something I'm trying to do that with and isolate stuff for crossing, and it's just like caked on with spores, it's a pain. It becomes a whole chore to get enough amount of it.
Yeah, exactly. Because you'll end up getting a bunch of dicaryons if there's too much.
Nothing. Yeah. Nothing will be a mono. You got to have the lightest. And other people do this, but I feel like some people do this out of cheapness because they're trying to make their print or their fruit generate the most swabs for them. But it doesn't take much. You do not want it to just be caked all over there. When they clump like that, you're not even ever using all of those spores anyway.
Barely anything.
I mean, even that.
Those are heavy.
Those
are actually quite heavy.
Yeah. Now, I mean, some stuff just albinos. when you're harvesting a tub, right? Like some of the fruit, they're just perfect. It's the perfect moment to get the spores everything's great, but it's not always that way. There are fruit. I got a tub. I got a harvest here of one of Ed's crosses, and I'm letting it go because I want them as mature as possible. I'm undoubtedly gonna get some tissue on it. Like I just can't.
Yeah, when you let them go long, it's just
the albino, the white ones,
Yeah.
they get so brittle, and you can even just barely touch them, and you're gonna get little bits of them on it if you don't. Because you gotta wait on a lot of the albinos because they really don't mature at the right rate. I mean, I don't know.
I
maybe
think
that's
they
about the same.
mature. Yeah, they mature way faster than you think because I check them under the
What?
scope. So what I'll do is I do a test swab on just like one of the mushrooms, like in situ. I don't take the mushroom out. I'll just reach in there with a swab and just really lightly graze one of the gills and pull off some of the fibers from the cotton swab and put them under the scope just in a drop of water. And the albinos, it's amazing. Before they ever get any color, those spores are mature.
Oh yeah, before they get color, but like you can't like
Like a
with
day or two, but like it's amazing. They don't look like they're mature, but if you swab and look.
Yeah.
So this is the great thing about swabbing is because if you swab light too, it'll just rip the spores that are like mature on the very, very edges of the gills. If you get in there too tight, you'll notice the spores are really small. And if you see like basidia or cystidia also on the swab, that means you swabbed it too hard.
Right.
So really, the only thing you should see, they'll actually adhere to the cotton fibers, and you should really only see spores and no cystidia, no chunks of hymenium or anything, just literally like spores. That should be the full size. But I've done it like 20,000 times, so I'm pretty good at it. But
Got it down.
But
I
don't know. You feel like they're just as fast? Because I've done what you're saying, probably not as many times as you.
But I grow in shoe boxes.
Okay.
So that's a little caveat there, I'm growing in shoe boxes, and my albinos, I don't notice they mature pretty quick, but it's in shoe boxes, they're like 7-liter shoe boxes. They're like,
but still later than like a pigmented spore dropper, like not like right
oh
after
yeah.
the break.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh,
just not.
for sure.
on. Yeah, but before they color up, like I swab all mine.
Oh,
before
yeah.
like if any of the gills start to turn blue out, swab those fruits.
No,
It's not. Like,
it'll be just bacteria.
Ugh, it's just nasty.
Yeah.
Gross. And any of those that like early on, of course I swabbed those because I didn't know any better. Man, I was cleaning out my swab library the other day, and I had some of those in there, dude. They're like green and like just ones that I had made. Like, no.
It's funny because these are from a year ago, and I'm like, yeah, those are way too heavy.
Yeah,
those are perfect. I did those yesterday. Those are perfect. That's an albino, but yeah. But you were finding if you test your own swabs, which everybody should probably do, like you start to realize, like, wow, I've been fucking this up for a long time.
Yeah.
Like I'm not doing this right. Like, but I learned that like 2 years ago, luckily.
Yeah.
So
Also, different cultigens. I don't know. I had a ODPE flush where they just came off. The gills were perfectly spaced. I could just get in
Like,
there,
jump to the
and they
swab.
looked nice, and I just couldn't stop. It was like my OCD, and I got done with everything, and I'm like, it was just like this, just pitch black. I'm like, what the fuck did I do? But I couldn't help myself. It was just so satisfying. Yeah, and they still worked, but again, they were not for isolating monos for sure.
But that's the other thing with the scope. I mean, I hate to say it, but like you were talking like 3 hours ago about the monos, and like if somebody's selling monos, the first question you should ask them is, oh, what do they look like under the scope, or do you have a scope? If somebody's selling monos and they don't have a microscope, don't fucking buy a mono from them. Like you can't sell monos if you don't have a microscope. I'm sorry. I can't say
You're just duplicating somebody else's and hoping it didn't get a keratinized. Like that's hope and a prayer, basically, right?
Definitely heard a lot of dialogue around that, around the what are the ways to do it without the scope, and not doesn't seem to work. Just when I think I know what they look like on a plate, oh, okay, they look like this. Well, no, but then sometimes they look like this, and then no, sometimes they look like this. And then I had a mono that looked one way for a while, and then one transfer, it just started looking a little bit different. It had like the undulating rings for a long time, and then out of nowhere, it just started looking weird as shit. I scoped it, still a mono, but for some, and that just must be like an adaptive. I don't know. Maybe it had a midlife crisis. It was like, God damn it, I can't find a fucking other haploid to mate with. What the fuck? I'm gonna be single my whole life.
No, for real, dude. I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
sure
that's
what it is.
it's sexual frustration. They're like, fuck, I need to find a mate, and they just start doing weird stuff and freaking out and sectoring. And you're like, why are you sectoring? Like,
and nothing fixes it. You can't trench it out. You can't use water agar. Nothing.
Oh yeah, it's a point of no return for sure. Didn't we talk at one time about? Didn't you bring up something like that you thought it might be like an impulse genetically for it to try to reproduce asexually or something? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, we did a while ago. Yeah, I remember that, and it might be. I don't think they can do it. So it's I think we might have been talking about how people like automatic like parthenogenesis, they like automatically die. They become dicaryons, they dikaryotize. That doesn't happen. Like that just doesn't happen. I think they would like to, but I don't think that ever happens.
Like
it's like the
maybe there's like some
conception.
old DNA mechanism in there that's like trying to come out and do something, but it's not all there to do it. But they definitely
my knowledge
can
that
get
never
weird.
Happens. Like you're not gonna get if you got a mono that starts pinning, it's because you fucked it up.
Yeah. For sure. Now the other thing, didn't you weren't you? I forget who I was talking to you and somebody else, but we were talking about how didn't you say that one time you had a mono, but then it also got mold on it, and so you isolated mold, but. What was it? You tell the story. I forget.
I've had every possible failure in this hobby. I've had it. So, I isolated a contaminant, and I had been growing it for many times, trying to fruit it, and it turns out it was some There's a lot of Mycelia sterilia that will not change color. I just sent out, it was a Facebook post, and there's a book by Barnett. It's like called The Illustrated Genera of Imperfect Fungi. And it's all the things like your classic Penicillium aspergillus, all the molds. But there's a large number of fungi that do not make fruit bodies. They don't make conidia. They don't make mushrooms. And they're just white mycelia on a plate. And they look a hell of a lot like cubes sometimes, depending on the media. And you can grow these things out over and over again, and they never fruit. And a lot of times you'll be like, I got this mono tub that's just sitting there. And the thing is, if it's a cube, you can look to see if it has clamps. But if you don't have a microscope, you can't check it for clamps. And so I had this mono tub that wasn't fruiting, and finally I pulled off a piece of the mycelium. I'm like, oh, lots and lots of septa, but not a single clamp. Wow. And then I realized, oh shit, I'm growing some asexual mold. Like I've got a mono tub full of mold.
Sometimes they'll get like a different smell for sure. Like if it's just like mold, a lot of the time it's like it'll have a different smell. Like not necessarily like bad, but like cubes sometimes have like more of an earthy smell. So a lot of the times like you won't get sweet, but if it's just like random molds, they'll have a different smell.
For sure. This was a while ago when I didn't recognize that how important smell was. And that's what I say now. Like, you got to recognize that good cube smell. Or even pans, like, have a funky smell to them. They're a little bit different. But, the kind of generic molds that'll just contaminate stuff, they usually smell off. Like, they don't smell like cubes, that's for sure.
There you go. John Workman stored some of that mold until they started sequencing all their stuff and figured out, oh, cool, we've been storing some mold in our library.
It happened even at UT, man, at Knoxville. We would pull out cultures, and they were some graduate student in a hurry, and they just throw these things in the cryo vials, and then they got to get their work done, and so they're not checking them. And so you pull these cultures out of the water storage that are 10 years old, and there's some weird ass like mold or it's just people get in a hurry and make mistakes, and you don't have the time to check it all the time. This happens. Mold. Yeah, that smell is for sure. That is one of the probably most important things I've learned in the last few years is smells. As soon as you open your spawn or you do a break and shake, you wanna I'm like, it's like some like barbecue ribs or some shit, you want to be in the
smells so good.
What's that?
Yeah, we're running into it because we grow a couple different gourmets, and so like we're learning the smells of the gourmets, and so like if we open up like a Pio Pino bag, after we do oysters, it's like, wait, is something wrong with this? But Piopinos just have like a strange smell to them.
Oh, they do. Yeah. Yes. It's like dogs. If you have a purebred dog, like I like wiener dogs. They're cool. I love them because they're beautiful animals, but they're also ridiculous animals. And that's what I had as a kid. So I'm used to them.
Partial.
But they have like a certain smell to them. It's pleasant. And they have their unit. It's just like how white people smell like wet dog, right? Like, right? Dachshunds have a certain smell.
So what do the other people smell like?
Well, you live with some. You tell me what they smell like.
Fish sauce.
There
Fish
you go.
sauce.
Yeah. All the races and creeds have their own smells.
That is true.
But we got this golden retriever, and it also smells like a dog, but not the same. I can't even smell it for 2 seconds because I'm so accustomed to that. And for sure, you are right. You gotta run a rip, you gotta run a line of that grain spawn before you spawn the bulk, and really get to know that. All the cubes have a very distinct odor. Other things can smell very similar, but the more you smell that stuff, the more it's a very specific signature. And if you get anything but that, I've talked about this a long time ago. Like even a neutral jar, you'll get a jar where you open it up and you smell it. And now I smell them both before I shake them up. I get that smell off the top, then I cap it, and then I beat the shit out of my jar until it breaks up. And step one is unless it's set for a long time. With popcorn, it should not be hard to break that stuff up. So I can gauge already, the likelihood of contamination based on how much work I got to put into breaking it up. But then I break it all up, and when I open it up and smell it, like Ed just said, it is an unmistakable signature earthy smell. If you get anything else, obviously sour or sweet, you're fucked. I mean, only if you're Dave Wombat should you run those. I will run a neutral one if it looks overall fairly good, not too wet, not too like matted down, and I can usually get some fruit out of that and not completely waste it. But at the end of the day, every step, right? A plate that looks healthy, spawn that looks healthy, really dialed in field capacity on your sub, gonna be hard to fuck it up. Like you just, if it's like when you go to a fancy restaurant, right? And they're like, oh, this is a simple recipe, but they source all quality ingredients and it just tastes great.
Yep.
Because it's not garbage.
Yep.
So sniff like Ed said, sniff your spawn. You gotta get some
and even
shirts. Plates,
man, dude. I'll be at the FFU. I can't imagine if I literally, when I open a plate, I'll be down and I'll put my nose like right in front, by the laminar flow, and I'll be like, "What's it smell like?" If it looks funny, and just the other day,
looks funny, yeah.
I like Howard was saying, I opened up a plate and it was clearly not right. It was just like, it was like offensive, but it was a new oyster mushroom I had gotten, and so I haven't learned the smell. It's one of those black pearl oysters, and I don't know, maybe it has a different smell, but I was like, ooh, it was almost like a bit offensive at first. I was like, oh, I guess that's what black pearl smells like. I don't know. And then I checked it for clamps under the scope, and it had clamps, so I knew it's at least a basidiomycete mushroom. And I'm just not familiar with some of these funky oyster mushroom smells yet.
You'll get there.
You only got to learn all the smells, Ed. Just all of them.
I know.
But yeah, you already know when you go out foraging with some of these people, there's like a certain personality type that like enthusiastically gets into smelling a mushroom. They'll run across the field, and the first thing they want to do is just snatch it out of your hand and just... And that person's enthusiasm usually carries over into a
little nibble. Yeah.
Has to do it.
Yeah.
You must have saw that movie Perfume, right? Perfume.
I have not seen that yet. Although I think somebody
weird.
Showed me the ending once, and I was like, oh.
So it's ruined then. You don't need to watch it then.
Yeah.
It's ruined if you've seen the ending already.
I got to get to bed, guys. I think Howard.
Oh, you know what? I do too. I do too.
Yeah, it's late.
We got to dial it in. We were sitting here thinking we're
go get lunch.
Night, but like, yeah.
We're doing the after show talk. No, we're still live. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Reach out if you got stories, if you got ideas. I think the next step, I'm going to try to generate some more content around how we can really structure to keep each other safe and just evolve this process, because I do think the threats are going to escalate, and we got to keep coming up with blueprints and plans for how we stay strong and united and connected and watching out for each other. So,
yeah. Thanks for having us.
Oh yeah, my pleasure.
Man.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
See y'all later.
Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, we did it. Holy crap. Almost 4 hours. I got to get up and record another podcast tomorrow morning after I get all my kids to school. So Geeky definitely needs to go get some sleep. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, if you got any questions, you want to know more, you can definitely reach out to me. I'll be happy to talk to you guys, about anything we talked about. And also, people are pretty good at this right now, but if you are looking for a vendor and you don't want to watch some of my episodes and get ideas that way, if you just want to ask me specifically, like, is there anybody you know who I can get this from or that from, I'm happy to make recommendations and try to steer you guys in the right direction. So anyway, hope you guys have a good night, and